This conference will
Okay.
now be recorded.
The October 14th Orangetown Planning Board meeting is now in session. Please rise and salute for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first item up is PB 20-38 Lane Subdivision. I believe Stu Stroh is going to. Hello, sir. How you doing?
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. I'm using new headphones, so I wanted to test it. Thanks.
Okay. Can I hold you up just for a second, please? I kind of went out of order. I want to do attendance. See by everybody that's on the screen that everybody is here except Mr. Bond. Everybody else here. Mr. Young is here, Mr. Mandel, Mr. Sweeney, Mr. Dell, Mr. Andrews, and Mr. McCory. Okay, go ahead, Stu.
Good evening, Stuart Stroh on behalf of the applicant, engineer for the applicant. This is a site plan for a proposed single-family residence. The project is located at 125 Park Avenue. The project appeared before this board in May of 2020, at which time it received approval for a lot line revision to merge 3 tax lots into a single lot. The project also appeared before the Zoning Board of Appeals on September 2nd, at which time it received a variance for lot area and a variance from the provision of Town Law Section 280A to allow construction of a residence on a lot without access to an improved road on its frontage. The site plan before you has been proposed in response to previous comments, and I just very briefly will go through the more significant changes. There was a previously proposed underground stormwater detention system that's now been replaced by a surface-based detention system on the side of the proposed dwelling. The sanitary sewer connection has been revised to utilize an individual pump at the request of the Orangetown DEME, which would not approve a connection to the existing 8-inch sewer that is just on the other side of the state line. We're told that that sewer is above capacity, so the sanitary sewer will now be connected to the existing sewer at the intersection of Scotty Avenue and Park Avenue. The proposed dwelling remains the same as what you previously saw when we had the lot line revision request. And that's my brief summary. I would prefer to address any comments and questions that any of the board members might have. And thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to go through the comments now. Jane Slavin, October 8th. She has 11.
Yeah, if you give me one moment, I'll get there. Yeah, do you want me to address those item by item?
If you wish.
I can do it briefly. I submitted a revised short form EAF earlier today, and I apologize for the fact that it had been submitted without a signature previously. The additional items that were requested in comment number 2, we will add the existing structures on abutting lots, and there's really no outdoor lighting or landscaping proposed. This is an application for a single family residence, and I don't think that those items are typically shown on a site plan for a single family dwelling. Item number 3, there was a proposed roof overhanging, and we're going to revise that to meet the requirement that it be no more than 18 inches into the yard. We will show the proposed HVAC equipment locations. We understand that it's subject to Aquabor review, and there's a comment that a large number of trees are to be removed. As I said earlier, we don't typically show landscaping and trees for a single-family dwelling on a site plan. We will dimension the proposed parking area, but it was our understanding from the code, and this is item number 7. It was our understanding from the code that the 18-foot width was really intended for the curb cut and not the width of the driveway. We did propose a 30-foot wide driveway. We were attempting to provide an additional parking space for an additional vehicle because of the fact that this project is not located on a public road where parking is available. So we would like to discuss that further. We were not under the impression that a variance is required for that. Item number 8, there was a backup area proposed within the right-of-way. The configuration was approved in a letter from the Town Highway Department, which addresses item number 9 as well. And it was intended to be a backup area to serve the driveway. Item number 9, as I mentioned, we did get a letter from Town Highway Department approving the configuration within the right-of-way. We understand that Rockin County Health Department approval is required for the well. I don't think that they review the grinder pump station, but if they do, of course, we'll get that approval. And of course, we understand that work cannot begin until we have the plan stamped.
Okay, thank you very much. You're just gonna have to go through and satisfy all these conditions with Jane. And the next time you come back, hopefully a lot of them will be satisfied, if not all of them, okay?
Okay.
Okay, Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, October 4th. Bruce has 5 items. And you don't have to go through and explain them as we go because they have to be satisfied to whoever's the generated the document. So our consultant. So whatever they you're going to have to do.
That's understood. We will address all of those items, Mr. Chairman.
You're going to have to adjust. He has 5 items on it. You're going to have to adjust all 5 of them.
Yeah, and number 1, as I mentioned, we do have the letter from the Highway Department already.
Okay. But like I said, if you show them that condition will come off. So
okay,
that won't be a problem. Okay. Next, I have a letter from James Dean. Please be advised that this department has no objections to the driveway as well as the small portion of the parking area on Park Avenue. Please note, Park Avenue Palisades is a private road.
Okay, that's the letter I've been referring to, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. I have a letter document from Mazer dated September 30th, updated October 5th. And overall, the proposed stormwater management plans meet the intent of the regulations, and therefore we recommend the Lane subdivision lot merger be approved for drainage subject to the above project comments, of which there are 5. Okay, I also have a letter from Rockin County Drainage Agency dated October 8th. No correspondence is here. Okay, it's outside of the Rockin County Drainage area. Okay, I have a letter from the Parks, Recreation, Historical Preservation of New York State dated October 5th. Okay, they have no concerns regarding the proposed project under CEQA. Should the project design be changed, we recommend further consultation with the office. Okay, I have a document from New York State Department of Environmental Conservation dated March 12th. Okay. I have from Rockin County Highway, allowing Town of Orangetown Planning Board to be lead agent. I have from Rockin County Highway Department, this project is outside our jurisdiction. I have a letter from Peter Torgerson, dated September 20th, 2019. I have a letter dated September 24th from Centerpoint Engineering. I have a letter from Centerpoint Engineering dated September 30th, 2020. Okay, what's that? I have a letter from a Michelle Manti dated. It looks like February. No, I can't make the date out on that. But it's basically discussing this project, and she lives at 135 Broad Avenue, Palisades. I have a letter from I know there's nothing attached to the letter from a neighbor. Oh, okay, here's a letter here. It's from Ellen Burge and Doris Burge. They live at 145 Park Avenue in Palisades, and it's a letter pertaining to this project. I have the updated short EAF, and I believe that's all. Cheryl, is there anything else?
I just emailed you a letter that I received.
Oh, yes, I just got it. I got it. I'm sorry. I got it right here on my computer. It's dated 10/14/2020. It came in. I got it. I received it at 7:29 this evening. And it's a letter from a Mr. Benny, who I believe it's from no, I take it back. It's not from him. It's from Edmund and Michelle Kolkin, I think, Klotkin. And it's pertaining to this project. He says, we are neighbors 2 properties away from Mr. Benny. So they're also not adjacent, but local property owners also concerned with this. Okay, Cheryl, is that it then?
That's all.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to open it up to the board. Mr. Young.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Mr. Straw, at the beginning of your description of the project, you had made mention that there was site plan approval on this. I thought we just gave permission for the lot line approvals. I don't recall any.
No, I'm sorry if it was misunderstood. What I intended to say is that we're here this evening for site plan approval.
Okay, thank you. I've been to that site numerous times. I'm just shocked that you can fit a house into that area. That is a tightly populated area as it is. You have the driveway on part of what looks to be wetlands or in an easement. I'm going to wait and hear what the public has to say before I weigh in any further, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I said I'm gonna let the public speak before I weigh in any further on this.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Mandel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was looking at the plans. I see you're removing at least 18 trees that are not under the house or the driveway or the patio area. We're talking about a wetland area there. Trees do absorb quite a bit of water. I know when I saw you today, you stated that there are quite a few trees on the Jersey side that borders your property. However, there's 18 trees here that are being removed. What is the rationale for removing all 18 trees? That's at least, there's more trees removed, but A lot of those are under the house or the patio or the driveway.
Was that addressed to me?
Yes, it is.
Um, the tree removal is a necessary part of the construction of the project. The lot is slightly less than 15,000 square feet. The zone is the R15 zone, so it's a little bit smaller, but removal of trees is a part of the project, and there are trees being removed as part of the project. There are some trees that are remaining, but they're necessary to remove the trees to get into the building envelope on this lot.
I'm not talking about the trees that are in the building envelope. I'm talking about some of the trees on the, let's say that would be the south side of the property, bordering New Jersey. You go to the corner on the east side, there's quite a few trees being removed there. It looks like you're clear cutting the whole piece of property. Are you leaving some trees? What new trees are you going to be putting there? Because even buildings number 6, one of their conditions, they were looking at you're removing trees, but you're planting no new ones. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, first of all, I thought that you had mentioned that trees were being removed in the house and the patio area, so that's why I referenced the building envelope. But there are trees that are to remain on the northerly side of the property and in the northeasterly corner of the property. The trees that you're referring to on the southerly side of the property are being removed to provide a stormwater management system on the side of that property. And there's also some grading necessary to make the drainage work around the building. So that's why those trees are being removed.
And the rationale on the east side, as you're going towards the patio area, there's quite a few trees being removed there.
So that area is partially within the wetland area, which is being filled to create the building site, and the trees have to be removed in order to accommodate the fill.
I'd like to know what trees you're going to plant there to replace these trees. It is a wetland area. As I said before, trees do absorb quite a bit of water. All right, no further questions at this time. Wait till public comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, I have, along with what, I have a question in, going along with what Mr. Mandel says. On the southeast, you show right on the property line, there's a tree being saved, and then right next to it, out of the retention area, there's 4 more trees being removed. It doesn't look like there's anything in that immediate area that would warrant them being removed.
There's a proposed 42 elevation contour there,
Right.
which is necessary to accommodate the detention area. The dashed line around the detention area is the 41 contour.
Right.
And you can see that that crosses the existing 42. So it's necessary to regrade the existing 42 to accommodate it. That's the reason for removing the trees.
All right, if you look at the old contour line of 42 and the new contour line at 42, which means the ground will not be disturbed there, that comes right across the tree that's being removed.
Yes.
Is there any reason for that?
Yeah, if I connect it to, if you're connected to there, you're going to lose that tree if you come anywhere close to it. So, you know, instead of showing a tree to be saved that is likely to be damaged in the regrading process, we showed it to be removed.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Sweeney.
Hi. All right. So I think that's a common theme here. I know I'm like kind of beating a dead horse, but back to the trees. I feel like we're in a catch-22. When you read off Ms. Slavin's comment number 6, that said a large number of trees indicated removed. however, no new trees are being proposed. You said, well, we usually don't do a landscaping plan when we're just going for a site plan approval. I think the questions you're hearing now, and mine included, kind of say that's really not going to cut it. Like if you're going to have a plan where you want to take down trees for a building envelope, I would have trouble, agreeing to a plan like that without knowing what trees are going to be replaced and where. I mean, you're saying there's going to be, a retention basin here and a filling wetlands there, but I don't see that. And I think if you want a site plan to be approved, I need a site plan that has all those pieces on it. So I'll wait to hear how the other members speak and what the public says, but those are just my views. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Mr. Dell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I re-echo the sentiments of what everyone else has already expressed. I'm just looking at this and it seems to be quite a bit of house on a very small lot. And I think that's 3/4 of the problem. Now, the proposed dwelling, how many square feet is that?
Excuse, the proposed what? I'm sorry, I missed your
Dwelling.
question there.
The proposed dwelling, DWLLING.
Okay, I got it now. There's a floor area ratio calculation on the site plan. The proposed dwelling is 2,805 feet.
All right. And it's not going to have a basement.
No basement.
Okay. So how many floors you have here? Is it a 1 floor or is it a 2-floor dwelling?
It's a ranch, 1 floor.
Good. Okay, because I just wanted to make that clear, because that gets some of the issues out of the way of a house actually interfering with the privacy of the contiguous properties. Now, that being said, there are a number of concerns that I have, particularly about the trees that were articulated. I think your idea of how the 42 contour was placed seems rather convenient from a drafting point of view, and maybe even from a construction point of view. But from a site point of view, I think it doesn't take into account the issues that you have. Quite a bit of this is in wetland. There are a number of trees. I understand you want to get rid of them, but a number of them could also be saved. And for that, I would like, there's ways of doing that, which as a professional, I'm sure you're familiar with that. It doesn't have to be just cut everything away and get rid of all the trees. There are mounding details, et cetera, that could be done to save some of them. But I think the biggest thing you could do is possibly reconfigure your drainage system so that it was a little wider at the bottom, and then you could pull it a little bit away from the easterly property line. What you have on the southerly property line, you have obviously a factory across the way, and you have a verge of woodlands, and I understand why you might want to clear that area. But some of the other areas I kind of question. And I also agree with the comment that Ms. Slavin made that would certainly be prudent to at least add a couple of trees, at least on the easterly border, to make up for what you're proposing to remove. And as the other member said, I would like to hear what the public have to say, those in the immediate area. But my overall point is that you're putting a lot of house on a relatively small lot, and you're in a very difficult site because of the wetlands. And a lot of these hardships, because of that, I believe, are sort of self-created in a way. I understand you want to develop a lot, but also, too, we have to think about the community. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Mr. Andrews.
Yeah, I just have a question about the, you said there's going to be a lot of grading in the area where those trees are on the east side of the property. How much are you going to build that up, and how much dirt is coming in there, fill? Approximately how high is it going to become? You're putting 20 inches down, 10 inches?
Are you talking about the southeasterly corner again, or just overall?
Oh, the whole east side where you're removing all of those trees.
On the east side, we're raising the ground to somewhere between elevation 41 and 42 on the rear, what is the rear of the house. And the existing elevations there are as low as elevation 40, and there's a portion that goes up to 42. So, you know, at the most, you're talking about, to fill in the lowest area, 2 feet of fill, and on the overall area, it's probably closer to 1 foot.
So just knowing that, it would be very easy for you to build a well around all of those trees and they would survive. I mean, it's a 2 foot, you could put a 2 foot well around those trees. If you got a group of 3 trees here, you could just put a well all around those. And I think that would suffice so that you wouldn't have to take all those trees down. I think a well would do them good. The thing you have to be careful of is you can't build any dirt up around the crown of the tree. If you do that, then it's going to die. But 1 to 2 foot well around those trees would easily have those trees live. That's the only thing that I'm looking at. I would, for any more comments, I'd just like to hear what the public may have to say. That's
Okay.
all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Andrews. Mr. McCory.
Thank you, Chairman. I know last time this was before the board for the lot combination. I know I voiced concerns about the ability for a developer to fill in on federal wetlands just due to lack of action by the Army Corps of Engineers. I think the permit becomes active after 45 days of inaction. So it's kind of like, you know, they didn't do anything, so you're able to fill it in. Is that correct? They didn't, Army Corps of Engineers didn't come down and investigate the site. They just, at the 45 days of inaction, the permit was allowed?
That's correct.
All right. So I mean, in our town, we take that seriously. You're able to fill in wetlands. So I mean, they might not be able to do anything about it, but we can do something about it. And I got the same concerns about filling in wetlands, removing the trees. The neighbor's letter, I just kind of read it quick. That just came in a minute before the meeting. That should be read into the public comments because they have the same concerns about the flooding that goes on there. And I think it's all just coming together for a bad recipe with the wetlands, tree removal. Another question is, who owns this land right now?
The neighbor to the north, Mr. Benny.
All right, and he's in contract to sell it if this gets approved. Is that the?
That's my understanding, but it's not completely my business, but that is my understanding.
That is correct.
All right. Oh, 'cause I noticed none of the trees on his side of the property are being touched, so he's gonna have nice screening. Property to the east, looks like they're gonna be affected by the lack of trees. So I'd like to see a landscape plan as the rest of the guys that thinks of all the neighbors in this area. Okay, and that's my only comment, you know, because I know what this house will get sold down the line, and then the people that live there will have to deal with all the flooding issues that are gonna come with this piece of property.
There's no flooding issues.
You know,
That's a misconception.
Okay, please, until you're addressed to talk, please don't refrain from talking, please. Mr. Benz, thank you.
yes, I mean, that came from the owner of the property that is involved in contract to sell it. But if we read the letters into the record, you'll see that all the other neighbors have concerns about flooding that's been going on there. So, but that's my concern like everybody else. So
Okay,
that's it
thank
for
you,
me,
Mr.
sir.
McCoy. Mr. Bond. Turn your mic on, Bruce. We can hear you better when you do
Yep,
that.
all right, now you can hear me. So this home is it's a spec home that's being built, or it's, they have a buyer for it, or somebody who owns Lane is buying it from this guy? What's going on with it?
My understanding is that it's a spec home at this point.
Okay. All right, and yeah, because one of my, not so much with this project, but one of my concerns is that the last project that I believe that we approved, it was a while back from Mr. Lane, is still sitting, they're pushing dirt back and forth in Pearl River hillside. So I have major concerns that that hasn't come back before the board and nothing's been done on it. They clear cut the property and it's just sitting there, and it's pretty much a disgrace. So I would like to see something, I would like to find out what's going on with that. Not that that necessarily has anything to do with this, but it's one of my concerns. It's the same person that's doing both projects. So I just want to air that out there. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. I want to go back to what I said before, along with Mr. Mandel. I'm looking at the plans closer in respect to the trees in the southeast along that property line. If you look at the old contours, they're all at 42 feet. On either end of that, they're all at 42 feet, and it drops down to your top of your retention basin down to 41.5. So it's a difference of roughly 6 inches. Okay, you're eliminating 1, 2, 3, 4, and where you see the triple ones, I can understand them coming out, but the tree behind those triple ones, again, is at 42 feet. So why are they being removed? There's basically, other than general grading, there's no change of landscaping there, no change of elevation. I don't understand why those 5 are being removed.
It's how we graded the site. It is, I think, up to the owner's preference in terms of the trees, but I will tell you that hearing all of the concern about the trees, we will re-examine this. We can go and look at the trees and even determine if they are in condition that's worthwhile of saving. But I think that we're hearing very clearly that everybody has concern about the trees. So we will agree to look at that and reevaluate it.
Okay, I agree that if the trees are in really in rough shape and on the verge of dying and everything else, I agree on removing them. But if those 5 particular trees, you know which ones I mean, right?
I know which ones you mean, yes.
If those particular 5 trees are still healthy and the grade is not going to change anywhere around them within 6 inches, which is not a big dramatic change, I'd like to see them saved. And I think the rest of the board members would agree with me. All right, so you take a look at that for me.
We will re-examine that and report back.
Okay, good. Thank you.
With a finding.
All right, I'm going to open it up to the public now. Anybody? Ms. Slavin, go ahead.
I do have a question for Mr. Stroh. When you do report back, I counted 46 trees to be removed in order to develop this property. So can you confirm that?
I think I counted 47 myself, so I would confirm that you're very close. Yes.
Well, hopefully I'm saving 5 anyway. Okay, I'm going to open it up to the public right now. If anybody from the public wishes to speak, please state your name and your address for the record. Okay, one more time. Does anybody from the public wish to speak on this project? Okay, hearing none, I ask for a motion to close the public.
I do see someone that unmuted herself. Helena, did you want to say something? We can't hear you.
I see HP. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, the name says Helena Power.
Mic is on and we hear nothing.
Oh, there she is. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. For some reason, your microphone's not working. We do have a chat feature if you want to type it in. I can read it out loud for you.
Maybe it'd be easier if she gets on a phone.
If she can get on a phone and call in, that's fine as well. She is definitely unmuted, so I don't. And she's permitted to chat. I checked all the.
Oh yeah, no. We're waiting to see what she has to say, no question about it. Everybody's looking to see what she has to say.
Helene, if you can try calling in from your cell phone, that might be better.
I don't know if she has the number.
I wish I knew sign language.
I hope she's not saying any bad words, being that she's muted.
Can she type anything in the chat?
She is. She's shaking her head. She is saying bad words. I'm glad I can't hear
Anything in
that.
the chat?
That's right. I was hoping she could type into the chat. Mr. Chairman, it's my understanding she was in the office. Oh, she can't find the phone number. Okay.
She needs the number.
Matt, are you there? Can you type that into the chat?
Yeah, if you give me a minute, I can find it.
I have it. The number is 1-866-899-4679.
Okay, I'll type that in.
And then the passcode is #925-440-117.
Helena, did you hear that? Nod. Okay, good.
Hello? Hello? Hi. Oh my gosh. I just want to say thank you for looking at this.
Okay, for some reason.
There, I'm going to hit my mute. Can you hear me still?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good. That's the important thing. All right. First of all, thanks so much for taking a close look at this. You are echoing the sentiments of quite a few neighbors down here. First of all, I want to go in order, and I promise I'll be very, very brief. I want to ask you some questions, but do I ask all the questions and then you answer, or do you prefer to answer as I ask? I've got like 3 or 4 questions.
Okay, let me just say something to start off with. You're going to be allowed 3 minutes. We can stretch it.
Okay.
And you're going to ask the board the questions, okay?
Got it. Okay. Okay. Well, now my first question is with regard to the trees. When in the early 60s, this development, which is actually called Palisades Manor, fought a battle to create a buffer zone next to the Rockley Industrial Park. The level of concern you have about the trees is very well placed because the property sits exactly at the border with New Jersey. There seems to be, on the southwest corner of the building, the distance between the edge of the property and the property line with New Jersey is 20 feet. There is no buffer stipulated there. Trees are removed, but a 15-foot buffer, it doesn't appear there. And we fought hard to try to have a buffer down here so that we're not dealing with the lights, which are a chronic problem, the noise, and the HVAC system along with the parking lot because we border that industrial park. That was a battle that was fought in the 60s over that. It is true, Mr. Stroh's right, it was 47 trees. And clear cutting the property is going to result in a problem for all of the neighbors in this neighborhood. I also wanted to know what a industrial grinder sewer pump station is. It sounds like a garbage disposal. What is it?
It basically is a garbage disposal that grinds up sewage to make it into a that could be pumped out.
Okay, because as we discussed, the sewer line is at capacity going to New Jersey, which is a bad thing all the way around. Let's see here. Now, a well must be dug for water. There are over 29 homes. I mean, over 29. I've been to most of them, but I think there's actually more of them that are on a single water source. None of us know how much water is down there. Can the developer or the town provide any info for us on this? And let's see, with regard to anything else that needs to take place on that property, the owner will move, the developer will leave, and us longtime residents will still be here. My hair is looking like ridiculous. I'm sorry, I'm seeing myself in this. But we're still going to be here for this, and we're going to be here for years to come. Everybody else that's made money on the property will be fine and happy and move on. But the problems with drainage, the site, the fact that it borders an industrial park remain a concern for many, many neighbors in this area. Thank you. And thank you for taking this so very seriously and for getting me into the call. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay, is there anybody else from the public that wishes to speak on this? I'm going to have one more time. Anybody else from the public wishes to speak on this?
Yes, my name is James Benny. I'm the owner
Yes.
of the property.
Yes, sir.
How are you? All right, just a couple of things. Helena mentioned the border there is a buffer. There is, I measured it myself. I mean, the property from west to east is 100 feet deep. And if you go past the property line into Jersey, it's 45 feet on the western side and 25 feet on the eastern side. That's still in the buffer before you hit the drainage ditch that's there on the Jersey side. So there is, quite a bit of a buffer there. There's over 100 trees there. So, I mean, even though the trees are coming down to put the house up, there's still going to be a line of trees of over 100 on the southern border, just over the property line. Well, I mean, I think that's, maybe not everybody's aware of that, but it's there. I counted the trees myself, and when I hit 100, I stopped counting. So, as far as the, the drainage and the wetlands, the property does get wet at times when it's really, heavy snow in the early spring. But, most of the time, there's not water there. It's pretty, dries up, and the ground absorbs it or it runs off. So it's not as horrendous as everybody makes it out to be. And as far as, the industrial park, which I think is a big issue here, I mean, the only comment I have about that is, everybody who lives here, bought here, know that's there. So, I mean, there's nothing, you chose to move there. You chose to live on Park Avenue next to the industrial park, and that's it. You got to live with it. That was your decision. So, I'm sorry for that, but it's just the way it is.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anybody else have anything to say on this project? One more time, anybody from the public wish to make comment on this project? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to ask for a motion to close the public session. Mr. Andrews makes a motion to close it.
Mr. Mandel seconds.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
sorry, before we do that, are we basically going to the direction that the applicant should ask for a continuation? And in which case we should do that in the open portion of the meeting?
I understand that, but I wanted to close the public session and then we were going to get into that, Mr. Dell. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. I'm going to ask, in respect to closing the public session, Mr. Mandel seconded. All in favor? If anybody's opposed, stay up because, speak up. Okay, I don't hear anybody speaking up on it. So the public session is closed. Mr. Stowe, you can see that the public has a lot of concerns. The board has a lot of concerns, basically about these trees. The owner of the property says that the lot does get wet, and by you cutting down trees, I don't think that it's going to help the lot get rid of its water. I think what might be a good thing, if you want to, you have to ask for it, we can't tell you, is to ask for a continuation to come in and rethink what you want to do with the trees. And also, we would like to see some type of planting, landscaping in respect to what trees you want to put back. I know it's kind of out of order a little bit, but being that this is kind of a critical lot, I think that we all like to see what you want to replace the trees with that you're going to remove.
We hear the comments and concerns on the trees clearly. We will re-examine this and come back to you with a response on what we could possibly do to improve the trees. I would like to ask if there were any other concerns that have on the board's mind. Everything that I wrote down has to do with the trees.
Well, there are a lot of concerns. Go through the consultants' reports. You can see that there are a lot of concerns. So I think you should look at all of those, discuss them with the individual consultant. Again, look at the trees. We would like to see, I think the board will agree with me, we would like to see some type of landscaping plan when you come back so that we get an idea of what you've taken out and what you're going to replace it with, so we have a better idea.
Okay, the comments.
Okay, Mr. Slavin?
If I can remind the applicant that he should really look at chapter 21A with the list of requirements, and the trees and stuff are required. So I think that's important. The landscaping, the proposed landscaping will definitely help in the situation.
Yeah, we'll provide a proposed landscaping plan. I would point out that unless you have a mechanism for making the owner and the future owners maintain and continue to keep the same landscaping, it's my understanding that a homeowner can add and remove landscaping. I'm sure you have a tree ordinance which applies to removal of large trees, but on a single family residence, I think it's largely up to the homeowner to determine their landscaping going forward.
Yes, but
that's actually not true. This is part of a site plan development. Yeah, you're asking for site plan approval. You need to look at the requirements. Yeah. There's no requirement for the board to grant site plan approval unless you provide what they're asking for, and multiple members have already said that.
Okay.
So
we'll take it under advisement.
So if a future owner purchases the property and that is a condition of their approval, they will have to do it, or they'll have to come back for an amendment to the approved site plan.
Okay. Then that's what I said. There is a mechanism for ensuring it.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
So are you asking for a continuation?
We will request a continuation, Mr. Chairman. Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay. Very good. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Next project is PB 20-39 Hawks View Site Plan. Mr. Greenwell.
Yes. Thank you. Let me just get my camera up here. Okay.
There you are, Jay.
Good evening. Okay, this is the northernmost lot of the Hawksview subdivision, which is a 4-lot subdivision that was approved by the planning board a couple of years back. The southernmost lot has been developed and has been sold, and title is transferred, and this is now the northernmost lot. And Mr. Keenan wishes to process for a building permit for this particular parcel. Again, this property is served by septics and wells. A proposed pool in the back is a part of the subdivision plan, the site plan rather. We do have septic approval and well approval from the Rockin County Health Department. We had made some minor adjustments to the septic system to accommodate this revised specific house rather than the generic house that was a part of the subdivision processing. And in the planning for this particular house, the impervious area is slightly larger than what was proposed at the time of the subdivision plan. So drainage calculations, supplemental drainage calculations were prepared by the engineer and were provided and reviewed by Brooker Engineering. And in your package, you have a conditional approval letter from Brooker Engineering, and we will go through that. We don't really have any objections to the comments. We'll address their conditions. And the property also requires a Rockin County highway permit, which we will get. And we have to go to Architectural Review Board subsequently. We'd like to get if the board was so amenable, we would like to get a final approval and subject to ACABOR if that's possible. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, let me go through the comments. Okay. Jane Slavin, October 8th. She has 10.
The only comment that I wanted to address is number 8, the pool patio. There is none proposed. They're going for a Hampton look, which has the grass right up to the coping.
Okay.
Understood that if that changed at some point in the future, they would have to accommodate the additional impervious area by some additional mitigation.
All right, thank you. Do me a favor, make sure that's on the plan. Just so there would be no confusion where people would be looking for a, you know, a paved area or a patio.
Understood. Understood. Also, if I may, just with regard to number 3 on Jane Slavin's memo, we had provided a landscaping plan. Was that not part of your package?
No, I didn't
Okay,
get it.
I did not see it, but
I can pull it up, but
yeah, it's not in my package, Jay. I can share if you can pull it up. I can.
If would you like to
give
see
you
it?
a presenter. Yes, I'm making you a presenter.
Well, let me see if I can get this.
That's a nice view, Jay.
Yeah, thank you.
If they have that view, I might buy that house.
Yeah, you have to go to Ireland to get that view. That was my screensaver. Here we go. Sorry, it's taking a little bit of time there. But here you see the perimeter plantings, foundation plantings, plantings in the front, a mixture of trees and flowering shrubs. This is the plan that will accompany the Akabor submission. There's a whole list on the side of the
Jay, did you prepare this drawing?
No, that was landscape architect Steve Gregg's design.
Okay.
See the
Yeah, I
tile
don't
block
know if
there?
that came in, Jay. All I received was your proposed site plan and the architectural drawings. No,
No, I don't remember receiving that plan.
yeah, this didn't come in.
Well, I don't know where that slip up occurred, but it was definitely intended to be part of the package. And Sean Keenan is texting me saying that he had dropped it off as part of the package. So I apologize, but we can certainly answer any questions about it, but it is a part of what we intend. And this is definitely will be a part of the package that would go to Akabor. And as far as any lighting, all the lighting will be, again, also reviewed as a part of the public hearing at Akabor, but the lighting would be included, basically carriage style lighting over any of the garage doors or the porch, and everything will be shielded and down directed.
All right, let me go continue then. Okay, Department of Environmental Management and Engineering dated October 15th. It's got 4 items.
Yeah, I was a little frustrated getting this letter today, I have to admit. And I did email Bruce to respond to these conditions, these questions and comments. Number one, because the drainage differs from the original design, revised calculations shall be submitted for review and approval. Those were submitted. They were part of the package. They were part of what was reviewed by Brooker Engineering.
We lost Jay.
All right.
Jay, you still there?
Jay, you there? Jay, where'd you go?
I'll text him. See if I can reach him.
Boy, our IT guy is screwing up tonight. Mike, you hear me? Or Matt? I can't see. I think it's Matt.
Yeah, I'm here. I don't have control of James Verizon.
We gotta yell at somebody. God. Okay, Jay's back.
You can go to town hall and use our Wi-Fi if he needs it.
All right, Jay's back in. It's funny. It
Yeah,
still
Jay-
has him as presenting, but he stopped talking. I don't understand what happened.
I got a message that I was dismissed from the meeting. I think you.
We don't like you anymore.
I didn't even have my handbook up, and the teacher sent me out of the room. Okay, so I was expressing my frustration with getting Bruce's letter today, and the bottom line is revised drainage calculations were provided and were reviewed by Brooker, and there's a conditional approval from him in the package that you have. With respect to item 2, he's asking for soil borings, perk tests, and determination of groundwater elevation. All of this was reviewed in great detail at the time of the original subdivision. We could not get the subdivision approval without the perk tests, the soil borings, and we had to get all of this approval through the septic approval from the Rockin County Health Department. So the idea that we can't get final approval until we do new perk tests I was a little concerned about. So I would ask the board to let us receive final approval if you're so inclined. We'll resolve this with Bruce and address his concerns to his satisfaction, obviously, but the idea that we have to wait till spring to do new perk tests was concerning. I have no problem with number 3, and number 4, as I mentioned, has been done. We have received a new county health department review and approval. Thank you.
Okay, Booker Engineering dated October 6th. The applicant has provided significant information to demonstrate that potential significant adverse impacts with respect to drainage can be mitigated. We therefore recommend that Hawks View site plan for lot 22.1 be approved for drainage subject to the above project comments, of which there are 10.
And we have no objection to any of them. In fact, with number 3, we are going to, there's a typo in one of the spot elevations. The plan will be revised so that the driveway pitches all towards the trench drain. In fact, that should also address the comment from one of the neighbors to the east towards the river that was written into the file. He's concerned about runoff going from this property or septic leachate. The septic's actually in the front. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll just address that when you get to it.
Okay, thank you. Rockin County Department of Planning, September 15th. They have concerns?
Yes, I would like to ask for an override of number 9.
Number 9. The site plan is difficult to read as provided. Separate sheets should be provided for the utility and grading plans.
I haven't ever gotten that comment, and I have produced thousands of plans, and I don't think anybody else has had any of this kind of problem interpreting the plans. I think they must have gotten a reduced copy or something.
All right. Let me finish it because then I have a suggestion for it, but let me finish the comments. Rockin County Sewer District number 1, September 30th. They have 2 comments. Rockin County Health, August 18th. They have 5 comments. Okay, from Paul Gendansky. There's a letter. He is a licensed professional engineer. There's a letter from pertaining to 3 dry wells, and then we have the dry well design calculations, and then I have a short
Mr. Chairman,
EAF.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Jay.
I was just going to say that I think that information was probably an email from me to Bruce, including the Rockin County Health Department approval and Paul Gdansky's supplemental drainage calculations.
All right, well, I just want to get it in the record anyway. Doesn't hurt.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a short EAF. I also have Rockin County Planning allowing us to be lead agent. Rockin County Highway, Planning Board lead agent. Rockin County Highway, no comments at this time. Orangetown ZBA, we're Planning Board lead agent. Orangetown ZBA, no comments at this time. This is Rockin County Division of Environmental Resources, no further correspondence for the site. Now, letter from a Dr. Alan Rosenfeld from 93 Route 303 to Pan. And also, I guess he has 2 addresses. This is another one, which is 1114 Route 9W South, Upper Grandview. And that's all I have. Anything else, Cheryl?
There was some dry well calculations from Paul Gdansky.
Yeah, I read that in.
You read that? Okay, and the EAF. All right, that's it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, hold on just a second. Okay, I'm going to open it up to the board. Mr. Young.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Greenwell, this is the second of 4 lots that are being developed?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I'm sorry, Jay, this is the second of 4 lots being developed up in that area?
That's correct, yes.
So the 2 outer ones are going to be developed. What are the plans for the 2 inner ones?
That's correct. The 2 inner ones are still vacant. And that's basically where the original house was.
Okay, and plans are still in place to develop that eventually?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I had right now, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mandel. Mike, can't hear you. Jake, do me a favor, take that screen down.
Sure.
Yeah.
Want me to close it all together?
Please.
Forgot how to do this. Jane?
Hit the little X up on top, no?
I did.
Well, you could leave it for a minute. I have a question about that, what you're showing us
Okay.
there. in
Okay,
regards-
leave it up. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Mandel, I'm sorry.
Yeah, regarding a letter that we got from Dr. Rosenfeld, I was looking at the location of the septic tanks. I noticed that he complains that they're quite close to the property line with his place. Just 2 questions with that. One, why was it selected there so close to the property line? Number 2, you're doing landscaping over these septic tanks? If that's what I'm looking at here? Can you answer that?
Alongside. It would be alongside the septic area, the tanks. The tanks are inert. I mean, they're concrete chambers, so the roots aren't going to affect any of the tank area. There's no planting on top of the septic area, which is at the corner of the front right corner of the house. And the septic area is not in the rear. The slope of the land is from about the middle of the house towards the road. And the septic is in the front, and it's not going to bleed out of the bank towards, I forget the gentleman's name, Dr.
Rosenfeld, I think.
On the east is off about 600 feet downhill towards 9W.
Okay.
I checked on Google Earth the distance between the proposed house and his house, and it's over 600 feet.
Okay. All right, that answers that. Because it's hard looking at this landscape plan here to see exactly where the plantings would be and where the septic tanks would be. So one's not on top of the other then.
No, the tanks are adjacent to this berm. They're in the area right in here. You see the cursor on the screen?
Yes, yes.
So the tanks are in this area in a line, and then the septic area is in this area right in here.
Rockin County number 5, they talk about the lot area, which you say it's 30,020 square feet. It says, was any of the area with steep slopes deducted from the lot area?
No, and that was a part of the subdivision approval. The subdivision plan addressed there were no steep slopes. There were no reductions, and you can tell from the contours, the steep slope starts basically right at the easterly boundary. There's a sharp drop off towards 9W right at this easterly boundary here.
Yeah,
you remember back when we did the subdivision, you were concerned about the swimming pool and the overhang. That was where that sharp drop off occurs, right at the easterly property line.
Right, yeah. There's still the old, whatever that was there, still is. The lots 2 and 3 are. You still have the old overhang or the pool or whatever that was at the time.
I think that's been all removed.
That's still there.
Oh, is it? Okay, I haven't been there in a while.
I was up there today. That's why I was saying that.
Okay.
And, all right, I see the landscaping is in. All right. Okay, no further questions at this time. Thank you, Mr. Greenwald. Wait if we have any comments from the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mandel. Mr. Sweeney?
Thank you. I have nothing to add at this time.
Thank you very much. Mr. Dell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is a very difficult lot. It's kind of an interesting lot in that when you step away from South Boulevard, it rises slightly and then it goes back downhill again. My main comments on this, I think it looks like you've done a good job with the lot that you had, but I think along the easterly border on the downslope side, in addition to the woven wire fence, I would like to see staked hay bales as a sort of belt and suspenders approach to this, because you have quite a bit going down below it, and I think it could potentially save a problem. That's one comment. Do you have any comments about that, Mr. Greenwell?
No, I don't think that's a problem. Okay,
good. So we're agreed on that. The next thing I have, and by the way, this is just one person's opinion, obviously. In the extreme easterly portion of the lot, I notice you don't seem to have very much landscaping there. You have it along the side, you have it along the front, but below the pool, I don't see anything. And even more so, in the northerly portion, I don't see anything. Was there any reason for that?
To the east, there's really going to be no proposed landscaping because everybody wants the view. And nobody's going to see the back of this house from anywhere because, like I said, the doctor is the nearest house and he's about 600 feet downhill, and all there is woods. So
okay.
There really was going to be no proposed landscaping on that easterly boundary line.
My main concern, though, of course, is the northerly side. It looks a little barren. Do you have any proposals to do anything there?
We didn't. We hired a landscape architect to look at it. And I believe there will be some existing trees that will remain.
Well, that again is hard to tell from the plan that I have. But go ahead.
I know, and I apologize for that.
Well, I think that should be included somewhere to at least do a study or to perhaps show some plantings, etc. Because right now you have a, very nice arrangement in the front and on the side, but it looks like almost like you got to the north and you figured, who cares? And I think because
let me suggest
it would be nice to put something in there.
Right. I was going to suggest that we'll take a look at what is there now and what can stay, and if not, we'll add some planting when we go to the architecture review board.
Okay, eventually it'll come back. Will this be coming back to us, Mr. Chairman, or not?
Let's wait, see what everybody does.
Okay, that's it, sir. And also I want to hear what the other members have to say and also what the public has to say. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Andrews.
I really have nothing further to say. I looked at the plans for the house. The house looks really, really, really nice. So I don't have anything else to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. McCory.
Thank you, Chairman. Oh, yeah, nice big house for this area. My concerns about the septic tanks, the questions were answered. Just one thing just to clarify with the Rockin County Health Department. They wrote in a letter that connection to the public sewer system is required within 1 year of the system becoming available. Do they have plans to put sewers in there?
No.
No, all right.
That's
why the letter was
requirement.
confusing.
It's a
What's
standard thing that they want the homeowner to be aware that if, as, and when there's sewers become available, they want you to connect.
All right, yeah, I just saw that, and then sometimes I read these letters a few times and still can't figure out what they're trying to ask. But I got no other concerns, so thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Bond.
I'm okay with it, no problem.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to open it up to the public. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this project? Okay, one more time. I'm going to open it up to the public. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this project?
I don't see any, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Okay, hearing that there's nobody in the public, I'm going to ask for a motion to close the public session. Do I have a
Motion to
motion?
close public session, Mr. Mandel.
Mr. Mandel, do I have a second?
Andrew seconds.
Andrew, second. Okay, thank you. Any opposed to it? No opposition, so we're all in favor. Okay, fine. Jay, I'm kind of torn here a little bit. There are a few things that I think the board would like to see resolved. And I think if you ask for continuation, I think you can get back in 2 weeks. And so you basically be right where you are. And at that point, we can give you final. I can't, right now, we really, with what Mr. Peters has said in his number 2 comment, we really can't give you final until that is resolved. And I think what you were saying in respect to him viewing the whole site plan, and you did have test borings for the entire site plan, I think that might resolve that issue. So I'm kind of asking if you would want to do that. And I think the board members are like to see your landscape plan too. And if you can make any modification or changes on that northern corner.
Well, if I might, Mr. Chairman, could I get preliminary, then get to go to Akabor, fine tune the landscaping, and then come back for final instead?
Okay, fine. I have no problem with that. If the board agrees to it, I see Mr. Mandel says yes. Is there anybody opposed to that? Of giving it preliminary so he can move on to Akabor? No, I don't see any opposition to that. So, okay, we're going to grant you preliminary with conditions. And the conditions are Jane Slavin, October 8th, has 10 items.
You need a motion for preliminary. You need somebody to make a motion, right?
Also, you need secret lead agency.
Yeah, right. Okay.
You know, you guys are really pushing for all this technical stuff. Okay. I can have a motion for lead agent, please.
Motion for lead agent, Mr. Mandel.
Mr. Mandel's lead agent. Okay, do I have a second? Mr. McCory seconds it. Okay. Do I have a motion for a neg deck?
I have a vote.
Mr. Mandel says neg deck. Do I have a second?
No, you got to vote on the previous one.
You know, okay. All in favor of lead agent? Okay. Any opposed? None. Okay. All in favor? Okay. Now, motion for neg deck.
Motion for neg deck, Mr. Mandel.
Okay. Mr. Andrews seconds. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Any opposition? None. Okay. Motion for preliminary with conditions. Who makes it? Mr. Mandel. Thank you, sir. Conditions are Jane Slavin, October 8th, 10 items. Bruce Peters, October 14th, 4 items. Booker Engineer, October 6th, has 10 items. Rockin County Planning, September 15th, has 9 items. Rockin County Sewer has 2. Rockin County Health, August 18th, has 5. Okay, then I have the letter from, well, I'm going to put it in anyway. Paul Gandansky, which is the calculations for the 5 dry wells and with the calculations. And that's it. And a letter from a Dr. Alan Rosenfeld, which doesn't have a date on it, but it was received by the town October 13th. Okay. Do I have a second?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman? I'm sorry.
Mr.
You put stake hay bales on the easterly side of along the silt fence, and also that the landscaping is to be restudied on the northerly side.
Okay, you got that, Jay?
Yes,
that you have the hay bale staked on the east side, and that
yep.
I believe, Mr. Dell, you wanted more landscaping on the northern portion if possible?
Say that it's to be restudied.
Okay, restudied.
I think that's fair.
Okay, okay, thank you. So, do I have a second?
Young
Mr.
seconds.
Dell, Mr. Dell seconds it. Okay, all in favor? Aye, opposed? Any opposition? None. You got your preliminary, Jay. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Okay, next one is PB 20-40, the saloon. I think we have Mr. Brenner.
Good evening. I am here and also with the owner, Bridget Killen. Bridget, if you can open, I see you're on.
Yeah.
Okay, good. We appeared before the planning board on February 11, 2019, planning board decision 19-27, and the board granted 1-year extension for the roof tap bar, and they requested that we come back. The virus restrictions took place, and the premises were permitted to use the garden under certain circumstances during this period of time. The client is now here tonight to obtain an extension of this permit to use the roof premises.
Okay, thank you. Let me go through the consultant's reports. Office of Zoning Planning and Administration, Jane Slavin, dated October 6th. I have no objections to the extension of time for use of the rooftop bar. I have a letter from Don Brenner, dated September 4th. And accordance with the requirements of the planning board, a reminder from the building department, my client is requesting that they appear for the planning board to inform the board of the improvements that they have made to the site. And on the bottom, there's a notation, and it says, Don, we put a whole new sound system that only plays the music from the solo artist. This system was put in the walls, so it does not travel. Thank you. Okay. And I have a letter from a Tim Floyd, dated October 13th, from Mr. and Mrs. T. Floyd. Okay. This should, Cheryl, did we read in the December 9th comments? Were they read in?
Oh, that's yes, that already happened back in December when you were granted. I just gave that as backup.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so I think that's all I have.
That's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Young.
No comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mandel.
No comments at this time, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sweeney. Yeah, okay, go ahead. I see you're no comments, Mr. Sweeney? Okay, thank you. Mr. Dell.
Thank you, sir. My big question is, how long of an extension are we looking at here? I didn't see that specified. Maybe I missed that.
Well, this usually is a conditional permanent. It should really be a permanent situation. The situation here is that the board wanted to see how this was going to work out. The first year, it did work out several years. In fact, it's a year and a half in operation. They have made the improvements. I think it should be an open conditional permit, and to come back every year, I think is excessive. I really do.
Because on the agenda, it says extension in time, sound review. It says nothing about making it a permanent condition. How many months will you need to fulfill the requirements?
Well, I think we have fulfilled the requirements. In other words, they
Then
are,
why are you asking for an extension?
because you requested us to come back.
Well,
you
no, it says,
If you look at your decision, you requested that we come back.
well, it says on the agenda, maybe it should have been written differently, in which case it might be another application. It says extension in time, sound review. Okay, how much of an extension do you want?
Okay,
Very simple question.
5 years.
No, I would not support that.
Okay,
Well,
Mr. Dell, if I may, Mr. Dell,
Please,
if I
Mr.
may,
Chairman,
if I may say something, is
please do.
when they were here, there were concerns from the neighbors. We gave them a 1-year extension to see if there were any complaints. Let me, Slavin at this time. Ms. Slavin, were there any complaints about the noise?
Mr. Chairman, I did ask OPD. There was one complaint on August 30th, but I do want to remind everybody that we've been in the pandemic since March. So that might be a consideration. We have not inspected if they've made any of the improvements that were recommended by the sound engineer. I know that the owner has indicated in her letter that they were made. However, we have not inspected that. It's low voltage wiring, things like that, so they didn't require our inspection, so I can't speak to what improvements were done.
Okay, so right now, you don't know if the improvements were done or not.
No, we did not inspect it, but Bridget said in her letter that they did make some of the improvements based on the recommendations of the sound engineer that they hired. And again, right now, the facilities are not at 100% occupancy in all of, the town of Orangetown and Rockin County and the state of New York at this point. No, none of these bars or restaurants are at 100% occupancy.
Correct. Okay. And you said that they're, in this time frame, the 1.5 years that they have been in operation since the last time they were with us, they've had one complaint.
No, they've had one complaint since they were here last time, which was less than a 1.5 years, I believe. I think it was a year ago, maybe 6 months ago. But again, this is seasonal. Their use is seasonal. And unfortunately, they were shut down.
We've been open since May and have had live music since May. So, I mean.
Bridget, the chairman will address you, please.
Sorry.
Hold on just a minute, please.
Sorry.
They were shut down during the pandemic. And as all the other restaurants and bars were permitted to open, which, yes, Bridget is correct, it was in May. There was a complaint in August. Now, if you remember, we opened up in phases. The building department was not asked to come out at any time to see what improvements they have made, so I can't speak to the letter that Bridget sent over as to what was done.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Mr. Dell. Hey, you have anything else? Mr. Dell?
Yes, again, my question. If we're going to, you want to give them something a little more permanent, I think it would have to be obviously re-advertised. It's saying just extension in time. And my question is still the same. You asked for an extension of time. How long of an extension of time are you asking for? And I still don't have a definitive answer other than 5 years.
I did request 5 years, and I made a statement very basically, you could always, if a violation takes place, you could always bring them back. I mean, to go to the cost of coming back every year, I think is over cautious. I think 5 years is legitimate, and you could always bring them back anytime there's a violation. The building department can give a violation, and they can come back to the board, or the board could call them back. So I think just to come back just because 1 year, I think is excessive. And I think the 5-year request, I think, is reasonable.
Well, because of the COVID, obviously it doesn't have a normal operating circumstance, and we haven't, no one really knows what's going on here. If you were going to ask for, let's say, another year because of the extreme situation, I myself wouldn't object to it, but I think it's preposterous to ask for 5 years. But I don't know how the other members.
Well, but please understand, you always have the power to bring them back. You always have the power of your building department to give them a violation. So I think you have the power to do exactly what you're doing. Again, if the board wants to give me a lesser time, it's the board's power. You asked what I would like. That doesn't mean you'll give me the 5 years, but that I think is reasonable.
Okay. Well then, Mr. Chairman, you there? Yes.
Yes, sir.
I would suggest that the board certainly consider even making it 1 year. I think 6 months would probably be adequate, but we don't know what's going to happen. So we'll say a year. But to give them like a 5 year, I think is a bit ludicrous. And I think some of the people who are concerned about this would find it more than a little puzzling why we would do that.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Before I go any further, let me go back, Mr. Young. You heard what Mr. Dell says, and you've heard what Mr. Brenner has asked for. Mr. Brenner's looking for 5 years. Mr. Dell is looking for 1 year. What is your opinion on that, sir?
Well, Mr. Dell asked Mr. Brenner, and I was gonna be good with 5 years. 2 years would be fine for me.
How many?
2.
2? Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, Mr. Mandel.
Yeah, 2 years sounds fine to me. We don't know how long this lockdown is going to go on with the government that we have now in the state. So 2 years at the minimum.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Sweeney.
Yeah, I'm back. I agree. I think 5 years is excessive. I think really don't have a read on how things are going to be when it's operating fully. But I do understand that, the business has to go on, and coming back here is a hardship as well. I'd be fine with 2 years or 1,
Okay,
but 2 years is fine.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, Mr. Andrews.
I also would go with the 2 years in lieu of the situation and the COVID virus. We don't know what's going on. So I think 2 years would probably be sufficient enough before we give Mr. Brenner 5 years. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. McCory.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to clarify, the original condition was come back every year for a sound review, and that's what's going on tonight?
No, that's not true.
To come back for 1 year to review. We had asked them to come back after 1 year to review what has happened. If they had complaints, if they upgraded the system, to review everything. Okay, and according to Jane, they don't know. She doesn't. The building department does not know if the changes have been made, and also they've only had one complaint since they were here the last time. So Mr. Brenner is asking for an extension of time. He's asking for 5 years. Mr. Dell is saying 1 year, and some of the board members have said 2.
Yeah, I understand that. So it's 2 separate issues. The extension for time to come back and sound review is a different issue, because it's kind of confusing on the agenda that we're not dealing with the sound review. We're actually dealing with extension of time to come back.
Right. We're dealing with extending their permit. That's what we're dealing with.
Yeah, just want to clarify that. So the sound review is a different topic, but with the 2 years to come back, I'm good with 2 years.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Mr. Bond.
Yeah, I think 2 years is reasonable, so.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Okay, I'm going to open it up to the public. Anybody wishes to speak on this? Bridget, you can speak now if you wish.
So I'm just a little confused. So we have to come back every 2 years for the sound review. So what are we basically coming back for you to say that we can open with music, or I'm just a little confused about the whole thing.
Ms. Slavin, could you explain that a little bit?
Maybe I'll speak to that. I think part of the problem we have with this issue is there is nothing in the code that permits outdoor music or prohibits it. And there's nothing that gives this board much guidance or an applicant much guidance in this type of issue. And I think that's part of the problem that we have. I think initially it was put over for 1 year because there was, what can we compare this to? Sidewalk cafe. With sidewalk cafes, I believe the permits are only for a year. They expire after a year and there has to be a new application. So my understanding in looking through this file was to make this application similar. Every year to look at it, to see if there's complaints or to see if things are adequate, and on a yearly basis, review it. But again, there's nothing in the code that really gives much guidance to the applicant or to this board on how to go forward. I think that's why there's a little bit of confusion.
I mean, I'm okay. I'm okay with the 2 years, but I mean, like, I have to pay for a liquor license for my bar. Like, there's a lot entailed for me relying on the town to say yay or nay is my only concern. I mean, I thought when I built this, I was approved, and this was just a sound issue a noise complaint. That's what I was going. So I'm a little confused, but I mean, we'll do
And
the
I
2
think
years.
that's a very good point. The applicant has spent a lot of money to invest in this, and I think it would be perhaps something that would get the town in some trouble to say, no, you can't do that going forward. But that being the case, without much guidance, I think for the near future, bringing the applicant back, and if 2 years is what the board thinks is appropriate, that's fine. If it's yearly, or maybe after 2 years, it will be 5 years. Maybe it will be permanent at some time. But the confusion that we have is just that there's no guidance.
Understandable.
I just want to refresh it a little bit. They got a permit to run the operation which they are doing. They put live music in. There was some complaints at the time that they put live music in. They said they would make certain conditions, certain improvements. The board said, well, come back in a year and let's see how it's working out. They made certain conditions. They're back now. There is nothing, the permit to run that is okay. The question, only thing on the table right now, can they run it with live music? They can run that thing. They have got a permit to run it. The question is, can they run it with my live music? And I think that's what we were here for.
Yes.
Okay, and I think what might behoove you, Mr. Brenner, is to talk to Ms. Slavin and possibly have a building inspector go up and take a look and see what you have done and see if they have any input as to, what it is. I really don't know. Like Rick, the town attorney says, we're kind of in this, catch-22 here. We don't know which way we can go. We're definitely want the applicant to and her business to survive. We definitely want that. But again, if we do one for one, we have to do for all. So we have to be careful. This is kind of like new ground, so we have to make sure we're doing it correctly.
I think my client has no problem. Anytime a building inspector wants to come up and take a look at it, he's welcome.
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Slavin?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think that the board can also consider, as we do with many other things, that AKRF made recommendations back in their report from July 3rd, 2019 on how to reduce some of the complaints by changing their sound system and changing their location of their speakers and how the music is amplified. Perhaps AKRF could present another report showing what was done and the results of that.
Okay, I think I think that is the right idea, because I don't think our building inspectors are sound engineers, so that qualified to say whether it was good or not.
I'm okay with that, but it just seems that we're bearing the cost of everything. I put in this sound system, I changed my sound system. Now you want me to pay and have another. I mean, COVID is pretty hard. I mean, like, we're willing to do whatever, but I just feel like how much of a cost for us? Like, we're kind of spent, But I mean, we'll do whatever you guys want us to do, but I mean, I do think it's unfair.
Richard, we do understand that. And again, as the chairman said, we are not sound experts. Nobody in the town is.
Mm-hmm.
We can just go on the recommendations of the report. And at this point, there's no way for us to know. honestly.
Okay.
And
No problem.
everybody wants you to be successful. As every business in town, we want them, to be successful. But we also want to make sure that, the neighborhood as well is.
No, and we want to be respectful neighbors. So,
And again, we have one complaint since the restrictions have begun to be lifted, and hopefully it stays that way, that the complaints stay down and the system worked. That would be obviously the best solution.
Can I make a recommendation that within this 2-year period, when it gets to operate at full force and the virus is being handled properly, at that time, before we come back to the board after 2 years, that we will do an upgrade on the sound report?
Well, I think it makes sense to have the sound report once you are up. I mean, I hate to say it right now, and I feel sorry for the saloon, but they're not allowed to have a full, complement up there. And I think that once they're open at 100%, then I think we should get the sound test done so that we have a real legitimate, answer. So,
Sounds
and I think hopefully, I mean, we're going to extend the time for 2 years, and hopefully within 6 months, you have to get that sound report done.
Right, Mr. Chairman, considering the circumstances, I think that's reasonable considering the circumstances. Obviously, we don't even know where we will be a year from now.
Right.
Obviously, if everything opens back up and we're back to normal, then the saloon has an opportunity to work at full force, and we can see where that goes.
I would suggest longer than 6 months because we'll be in the winter months. We're not.
Yeah, you want to get there peak season, which is going to be the
Okay.
summer. Summer's the peak season, so.
Okay.
I meant to say in 6 months, this is all going away and we're back to 100%, but I would be facetious. So within 2 years, hold on just a second, Mr. Vidal. I think that within 2 years, we're all going to be very happy. We're all going to be up to 100%. At that time, I think you should be able to get your sound test done and come back to the board and satisfy everybody's complaints at that time. So that's what we're hoping for.
Okay.
Mr. Dell.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I think you have a great business, and I know it's successful. People always speak highly of it. So that's not the question. I'm just erring on the side of caution, obviously, because of the extensive problems that seem to have been previously. The board's content with 2 years, and from what I'm hearing also too from Mr. Brenner about what's going to be done, then I also would not have problems in 2 years. And I personally would love to have it come back in 2 years and say, hey, let's make it 5. But again, I just think we just got to err on the side of caution. So I'm okay with the 2 years, and I wish you luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, Rick, what do we got to do on this? Is this a vote, or we can just arbitrarily give them a 2-year extension, or what do we have to do?
I think we're still in a public
Give them
forum.
a 2-year extension, but I think you'd have to do secret and then vote like a normal.
Okay, all right, I didn't know what, okay, very good. All right.
Aren't we still in public forum right now?
Yeah, I'm for information. Okay. We did open up to the public. Is there anybody else in the public wish to speak on this? One more time. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this?
I
Okay,
see none, Mr. Chairman.
Move to close.
Okay, Mr. Andrews moves to close the public session.
Second.
Okay, who made the motion? I'm sorry.
Mr. Andrews made the motion, Mr. Mandel second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? None. Okay. Motion for lead agent.
Motion for lead agent.
Mr. Mandel, do I have a second?
Andrews seconds.
Mr. Andrews seconds. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? None. Okay. Motion for neg deck. Mr.
Motion for neg deck.
Okay. Do I have a second for neg deck?
Andrews seconds.
Mr. Andrews seconds. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? No opposition. Okay. Motion for extension of 2-year time frame before they have to come back. Do I have that motion?
Young,
Mr. Young makes a motion to give the saloon a 2-year time extension. Okay, with condition, which I really don't believe there are any. Ms. Slavin has no objection. I think that's it.
You have the report that we have to do within that 2-year period.
Okay, yeah, okay. Okay, within that 2-year time frame, we'll get a sound review and bring the findings back to us.
Yes.
Okay?
Mr. Chairman, I ask that report, though, be done when hopefully the pandemic is actually over.
Okay, I don't want to say this, but God forbid we're still in the same situation in 2 years from now, which I'm so wrong that somebody should shoot me, but that, I mean, they can't get a sound test done because if the situation is the same, if they come back and ask for another extension, the board will probably do it and just go until we're back to normal. That's all I can say. The whole world's screwed up. So, I mean, we have to help our neighbors as much as we can.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
may just want to say that the sound test will not be conducted until all restrictions have been removed.
Okay, very good, Mr. Mandel. Mr. Brenner, is that okay with you?
Yes, it sounds fair.
Okay, Cheryl, did you get that?
Yes, I have it all.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, do I get a second on that?
Andrew seconds.
Andrew, second. Do I have a motion? All in favor? Okay, do I have any opposition? No opposition. Mr. Brenner, you have it.
Okay, I have other business coming up, one other thing. Could you take it now or do you want me to wait?
Ms. Slavin, can we sneak him in?
Mr. Chairman, I believe that is up to you. That's not my call, so.
What the heck is it? I just had it here.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay, good night. Thank you. Let me ask the board real quick. Mr. Brenner.
I'll wait if.
All right, well, let me just, you know what, Mr. Brenner, hold on just a second. Let me just go to the next one, all right? All right, the next one is P 19-13 Dynamic Productions USA site plan. Who's wrecking the place? Okay, is there anybody here? Okay, I see Ira. Who else is here? Ron
Panicucci with Land Associates.
Okay. Who's going to do the presentation? Whomever, go ahead.
Yeah, all right, I'll kick it off. Ron Panicucci, professional engineer with Land Associates, for the engineers for Dynamic Productions. Properties located 300 Blaisdell Road, which is at the southwest corner of the intersection of Blaisdell and Hunt Road. Section 73.2, Block 1, it's Lot 1.2 in a LIO zone. Total properties 3.4755 acres. Has an existing building, 26,269 square feet, of which it's got 8,269 square feet of office space up front, and then an 18,000 square foot storage area at the rear. The property has been developed for quite some time. My actual involvement goes back to prior to 1988. Originally, the site was owned by the Chosen People's Ministries, built as a distribution facility, and was an independent lot. And in 1988, Chromalloy bought the property and went through a reverse subdivision to combine the lot with their entire facility, which is located just south of this site. Chromalloy owned it up until 2017, and then went through a subdivision so they could sell the property. As part of that subdivision, there's 2 easements involved with this site and the Chromalloy site. There's one on the west side of the property, which is the entrance from Hunt Road that's on Chromalloy property, and that easement allows access by Dynamic Productions. And there's an easement on the south side of the Dynamic Productions property to allow Chromalloy access to their parking area. What's proposed in terms of changes to the site, the construction of a concrete pad across the rear, which would be the west side of the building against the back face of the building. That was a strip of lawn between the building and the sidewalk. A concrete pad about 1,134 square feet, and a concrete pad just off the northwest end of the existing parking lot at the rear of the site, about 602 square feet for the parking of some portable light towers and generators. That, and along with a little bit of pavement in that area to address controlling stormwater runoff, there's a total of 1,908 additional square feet of impervious surface added to the site. The concrete pad across the rear of the building was for the purpose of installing steel storage shelves across that side of the building. Other items would include the installation of a propane storage cabinets to store propane tanks, 5-gallon 20-pound type propane containers. Location of 5 intermodal containers on the site, 3 in the rear parking lot, 2 against the south side of the building for storage purposes. The installation of a canopy over the loading dock, which is on the south elevation of the site. And then the installation of a 4-foot chain link fence with privacy slats around the north side of the property facing Hunt Road. Installation of a number of above ground portable planter boxes along that fence, some along the entrance driveway, and then a row of them running east to west across the rear parking lot to basically divide the parking lot into 2 areas, one that we're keeping as existing parking for employees and so forth, and then to the north of that would be existing parking area that we're proposing for outdoor storage of Dynamic Productions equipment. The site has a few non-conforming dimensional items, primarily as a result of previous takings for road widening along Blaisdell and Hunt Roads. We are looking for a variance on the south side due to the installation of the 12-foot canopy over the loading dock, which would reduce the dimension there to 95.9 feet. All of the parking analysis is included on the drawings. Right now, there's a total of 160 parking spaces on the site. The analysis we show based on square footage of office and number of employees for the storage area is a requirement of 55 spaces. The layout as it's presented indicates 67 spaces, but we did receive a comment from the Rockin County Planning Department pointing out that those portable planters that divide the parking lot are in some of the spaces that were shown for parking. So the actual number is 63. Dynamic Production at the time had 32 employees, but I don't know what their numbers are now due to the COVID situation. They did lay off a significant number of their workforce since they aren't running any events right now. As a result of the increase in the impervious surfaces, we did need to make improvements for drainage to eliminate any additional runoff from the 100-year storm. What we did was propose the parking area for the portable light towers and generators That's a majority of the equipment stored in that rear area that contains motor fuels that could drip any type of petroleum products. So with these drainage improvements, that area where those items are parked are being captured in a new catch basin, which would feed a dry well, and you have a storm inlet filter for treatment of TSS and oils. So we had drainage improvements proposed to address both the increase in the stormwater runoff as well as treat the quality of the water for that area. That had been reviewed by Brooker and had been approved, other than a comment that before the system's constructed, to do a test pit to just check the depth of groundwater to make sure that the seepage pit design worked. And that's the application.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Sure.
Okay, let me go through the consultant reports. Excuse me, Jane Slavin, October 13th. She has 10. Okay, Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, Town of Orangetown, dated October 14th, Bruce Peters. He has 7. Booker Engineering, October 14th. The applicant provides significant information that demonstrate that potential significant adverse impacts with respect to drainage can be mitigated. We therefore recommend that the Dynamic Productions USA site plan be approved for drainage subject to the above project comments, of which there are 1. Rockin County Department of Planning, August 17th. They have 10. Okay, Rockin County Health, September 4th. They have 1. Rockin County Highway Department, August 10th, have 3. Letter from Rockin County Drainage Agency. Please note that the site is outside the Rockin County Drainage Agency jurisdiction. Okay. Parks, Recreation, and Historical Preservation, October 5th. Oh, sorry. I have a 1, 2, 5, 6. A 7-page letter or document from a Ira M. Emanuel PC, dated September 11th. This is Dynamic Production, Rockin County Department of Health. Their comments were attached. This is Rockin County Highway. Comments were attached. This is no further comments. Correspondence for the site should be sent to this agency. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 photographs from different neighboring companies. Okay, the letter dated September 6th from the Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, Bruce Peters. He has 5 comments. I have September 9th, Booker Engineering. Again, the applicant provides significant information to demonstrate potential significant adverse impacts, and they recommend drainage be approved. They have, at this time, they have 3 items. Jane Slavin, July 26th. There's a letter to Mr. Emanuel. Okay, part of the letter is, since I have taken no final action in this matter, and the matter is before the planning board, not the building department. It is not clear to me what you intend to appeal to the ZBA, but depending on the nature of that appeal, I will consider at the appropriate time whether there is any need to stay with the planning board's application, or if your delays continue, I may have no choice but to consider the planning board application withdrawn or abandoned. That was on July 26th. On July 25th, Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, Bruce Peters has 5. Rockin County Planning on July 25th. They have 6. Number 3, outdoor storage is being proposed for the site, section 3.11, table of general use regulations, column 7.2, 7.2. Additional use regulation states all office, laboratories, manufacturing of prototype products, accessory storage, and all accessories off-street loading berths shall be completely within enclosed buildings. The town planning board must determine if the proposed outdoor storage is permitted. If it is determined that it is not a permitted use, then the applicant must apply for a use variance before the ZBA, Zoning Board of Appeals. Number 5, the project narrative mentions equipment transportation trucks entering and leaving the site as required by the time of producing events, section 3.11, general table of general use regulations, column 7.2, part C states, no shipping or receiving goods shall be carried out between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. The applicant must comply with his time frame, or they must apply for a use variance before the Zoning Board of Appeals. Again, the Rockin County Department of Planning had 6 items. Rockin County Health, dated July 30th, they have 1. Okay, Town of Orangetown Fire Prevention, July 3rd, they have 4. Okay, not read yet, okay. March 10th, Office of Building, Zoning and Planning, Jane Slavin. She has 6, of which the applicant's narrative statement, paragraph 3 states trucks may leave from the warehouse at any time or day to go to an event and may return to the warehouse at any time or day from an event based on the requirements of a particular job. Per table 3.11, column 7, number 2C, no shipping, receiving of goods shall be carried out between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. Applicant is required to demonstrate compliance with this section or obtain use variance. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, March 3rd. There's 7. On March 6th, Booker Engineering. Okay, at this time, the proposed action exceeds the threshold historically identified by the Town of Orangetown Planning Board for which potential significant adverse impacts with respect to drainage can occur. Mitigation measures with respect to drainage impacts should be provided. We therefore recommend that the Dynamic Productions USA site plan not be approved for drainage at this time. Okay, that was on March 6th. Rockin County Department of Planning, March 5th. They have 7. Rockin County Highway, February 13th. They have 3. Number 3, a road permit shall be required by the Rockin County Highway Department prior to starting any construction activities on the site. Okay, Rockin County Health, March 1st. Rockin County Sewer District Number 1, February 25th. They have 2. Okay, Orangetown ZBA says that the Orangetown Planning Board for lead agent. Rockin County Department of Health says Orangetown Planning Board lead agent. And I also have a short EAF. Oh, and also Rockin County Department of Health says planning board is lead agent. Okay, Cheryl, is there anything else? Did I miss?
Did you read the Brooker letter of October 14th?
Let me see.
Yes.
I believe October, I guess September 10th, so that would be after.
A lot of those letters were repetitive, so.
Yes, I understand. I just wanted to get them all in.
Okay, yes, that's why I gave them to you.
Yeah, October 14th, I did put that in. If not, I would do it again. Booker.
Okay, and Bruce
October-
Peters' letter of October 14th.
Yeah, okay, they have
Okay.
one. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, that's it. Okay.
Okay, Mr. Young, questions or comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not much in terms of what's been read into the record. I did go by the site today, and that is a very busy business you got going on there. The outdoor storage, something's got to be done there, as it's been read into the record. That's all I had right now, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mandel.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Regarding Rockin County Planning number 6, there's no landscape plan submitted. It's got to show additional landscape screening along the screening materials stored from view. I didn't see on the plan any screening along Hunt Road, and the concrete containers with grass there does not, in my opinion, make for a landscape plan. So I think we have to have a landscape plan prepared so that we can look at it. Number 2, I'm looking at the Bureau of Fire Prevention, their 7319 report. Apparently, nothing has been complied with this. I could see looking at the property. The fire lanes are still not striped there. There are signs saying fire lane on the south side, but there's no striping. And one other question for Director Slavin. The outstanding violations, work performed without a permit, has that been adjudicated yet?
No, they have not. They're still, my understanding is they're still within the court system. Part of the delay obviously has been the pandemic, and also the application before the board stays the court actions as well. So everything's in a holding pattern at this point until the site plan is worked out.
Thank you. I definitely could, they have to come in with a landscaping plan showing the screening as Rockin County planning condition number 6 states. They have to do a little bit more with the Fire Bureau before I can go along with approving anything at this point, but I would like to see what everybody else has to say on it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sweetie.
Yes, thank you. Obviously, with all the postponements, there was a lot of documents that superseded documents, and a lot of it was redundant. And even as we read through some of the different agencies and the most current letters, there were some comments that kept coming up. I think Jane's letter kind of has a lot of them in it. I know, Jane, you just said now that, if I was clear, that the court issues with the variance are on hold because they're waiting to see what happens in this planning board.
Well, no, the way the process works is they occupied the building and started doing things that were against our code. We issued violations and summonses, and we're taking the court. They're 2 separate actions. There's the application before the boards, and there's the court sessions. But if an applicant is moving to comply, when you're in court, a lot of times the judge will say, okay, let's see what happens through the land use board approvals. So my understanding, and maybe Mr. Emmanuel can shed some additional light on this, we can't issue fines. The court issues the fines. So if the court makes a determination that the applicant is working towards compliance, they're not going to issue fines. And that's my understanding where it's been. And obviously, yes, with the pandemic, the courts were closed for quite some time. So here we sit. They can work parallel with each other, and hopefully we can all, get them into compliance from both sides.
If I could just add a little bit onto that. There's also a stipulation that was entered into between the town and the applicant that basically said that we can come back and go through the land use process, and the court proceeding would be held in abeyance while we're going through the land use process. Again, at the time, nobody anticipated that we would have the delays that we have as a result of the pandemic. This is taking longer than I think any of us would have liked to have had. But that is the situation that we're working under. So there is an agreement between the applicant and the town to hold the court in abeyance for the applicant to come to this board and, if necessary, to the ZBA to get whatever approvals it needs so that it can continue with its business.
All right, so that answered, I think, my first question. My second question, Jane, also is, again, there's a lot of stuff in here. Can you just give me a quick summary of the variances they're going to need for this to go through?
Well, the biggest one is the outdoor storage. I can share my screen. And I know some of the members have been out and you've seen, I don't know what you guys are seeing, actually, this is a little confusing here. You've seen that there are, nope. Oh, what's going on here? Give me a second. There's quite a lot of items on the site, and it's directly across from our town park and also directly across from residential zoning. The site historically has been very well kept, and I will get to that. The storage on the right here is not even on the applicant's property, but looks to be overflow from stuff that is on the left side of the photograph, which is on their property. This is not permitted by our code. As you can see, there's racks and racks of storage here. And by our code, this is a use variance. So they would need to obtain approval from the zoning board. There's some other variances required that are bulk variances for setbacks. Number one, to a proposed canopy, which they talked about over the loading deck. All right, so you're seeing this is the other direction of all that storage of their materials. This is the storage on the other side of the driveway that seems to be actually off their property. This is an aerial from 2016 before they took possession of the property. That's from Rockin County GIS. This was still in possession of Chromalloy at the time, and as you can see, the site was maintained in a pretty pristine manner. This shows the residential properties across the street, as well as the town park, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. Before the pandemic, was always filled with families and children playing soccer and football and baseball on the other fields, and is typically lined every afternoon and evening with families along this whole Hunt Road here. So they would see the first few pictures that I showed of this side of the property here. So in response, let me get rid of this. Okay.
Jane, we lost you.
I know, I'm right here. I'm just trying to
Okay.
get my, I'm trying to close my screen.
I thought you were
Options.
talking.
Yeah. Here we go. There we go. I'm back. So in terms of the variances, number one, they occupied the building without applying for the correct certificate of occupancy. So that is number two. They did do work within the building without the required permits, which is something that Mr. Mendel touched on as far as the fire inspector, as well as code enforcement observed that. The proposed outside storage of trailers, equipment, permanent storage requires use variances based on the LO District Column 7 that all offices, laboratories, manufacturing, prototypes, accessory storage of all accessory off-street loading berths shall be completely within enclosed buildings. The information I just showed about the site that they have stored outside was never previously approved on any site plan for Cromalord. So with them doing that, now requires a use variance based on that section of the code. No parking is permitted with any of the yards. The photographs show that they were parking trailers and other equipment right along Hunt Avenue, which is in the required setback. Also, the proposed permanent trailers are also within the setbacks. Let's see, we'll go down. So what happens is our code steps through multiple sections, and that's what I outlined here. So chapter 5, number 5, chapter 43, table 3.1, LO District Column 7 refers you to the R80 district. So the items in the R80 district also apply to this site. So R80 district number 2 says that in addition to the particular requirements, the town board or agency having jurisdiction, which would be the planning board, can require adequate fences and other safety devices, landscaping and screening. It goes on that number 10, no trucking movement of any kind shall be permitted in any district between the hours of 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. unless permission is granted by the zoning board. So there's multiple sections that reference trucking in those hours. Then there are bulk variances required per chapter 43, 3.12 table of bulk regulations, column 9, side yard required is 100 feet. 95.9 feet is proposed to the new canopy over the loading docks. Also, the following variances are required. Location of accessory buildings and structures. So again, they're proposing permanent storage containers. No accessory building or structure shall be closer to any principal building or any other accessory building that's equal or less than the height or no less than 15 feet. 2 of them on the side yard are permitted right up against the building, so it's a violation of that section of the code. All required yards, courts, and usable open spaces shall be unobstructed. 91.9 feet is proposed the new permanent intermodal storage containers, and I forget what the other one is on the other side, but I think 56 feet on the other side, which is the west side of the property. Active board review and approval is required also for the site plan. So there's multiple use variances and bulk variances that are required.
If I could just respond to a couple of things that Ms. Slavin brought up, Mr. Chairman. Okay, thank you. With respect to the pictures that she showed, we're in an extraordinary situation because of the pandemic. The business normally would have much of that equipment out at various sites rather than on site. And so what the pictures that are being shown, while accurate as of today, are not accurate as far as the normal course of business is concerned. Having said that, we are seeking to have outdoor storage and looking to get that. And if we need to get variances for that, we will the business will apply for that. We disagree with Ms. Slavin as to whether or not that requires a use variance, but that's her determination. And we'll take that up with the Zoning Board of Appeals as to whether whether they think her determination is correct. With respect to the landscaping along Hunt Road, as we've said previously, we're certainly happy to work with the board to enhance the landscaping along Hunt Road so that the view from the park across the street and from the residences is screened better than it is currently. So what we'd like the board to focus on is not so much the variances that we need. We understand that we need variances. We understand that that we have some disagreements with Ms. Slavin as to the interpretation of the code. Neither the variances nor the interpretation are within the purview of this board. So we'd like this board to concentrate on the site plan, on the environmental impacts, so that we can then go ahead and move to the Zoning Board of Appeals to deal with the interpretation and with the variances.
Okay.
All right. Am I
If
still
I
up?
can add, Mr. Sweeney, if I can add, while Mr. Manuel says that I may be incorrect in my assessment, the Rockin County Planning Board actually agrees with my assessment. So you have an independent agency who reviewed the same code as I did, and that I'm charged with enforcing. And it is a use variance under our code because it's an accessory use. Outdoor storage would be considered an accessory use. So therefore, it is considered a use variance.
And without going into a whole lot of detail, although it is addressed in my response to the County Planning Department, we believe that both Ms. Slavin and the County Planning Department are misreading the code, and we'll take that up with the ZBA.
Okay, please. Okay, let's move on from there. We're not going to address that. That's not our purview. That's for the ZBA to understand. Mr. Sweeney, do you have anything else?
Just a little bit. I'll be done shortly, I promise. So thank you, Ms. Slavin, for that summary. That clears it up for me, and I appreciate the pictures. So it sounds to me like, and that's why I asked the question in the beginning, that if and when this planning board does eventually give preliminary, there's a lot of steps to go through as far as to getting variances. And it seems like these violations cannot really be satisfied until those variances eventually, possibly, maybe come through and changes can be made. This seems like it's going to drag out for quite some time. I disagree with Emmanuel's comment about how we shouldn't look at the site now because we're in different times. I know we're in different times, but I think part of a site plan is to be able to store all your materials at all times in case jobs get limited for any reason, pandemic or just a slowdown in business. So either you need the variances for outdoor storage or you need a bigger building, one or the other. And to say these things aren't in our purview, I think we do have the right to make a recommendation to get it to the zoning board and other boards once we feel you've satisfied the preliminary conditions of being prepared. So that's why we're asking these questions now. We're not going to debate who's right and who's wrong about the interpretation, but we do have a responsibility to ask these questions and understand the plan to make sure they're ready before we move it on to some other board. So I think there's a long haul along the way. And right now, I mean, the property is, to my eyes, not a conforming use right now, and it's a bit of an eyesore. And I'm not sure the best way to handle that at this point. I'll wait to hear what everybody else has to say before I make any other comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Dell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with what Mr. Sweeney was saying, particularly about the need for a bigger building. I was there today, and like many of us have looked at the site, and I got to say, Ms. Slavin's photographs were, if anything, charitable in their depiction of really what's there. If you go inside, it's just wall-to-wall trailers, part of lighting riggings, and you name it, it's there. I don't think they could put any more on here. And I do commend them for, trying to have a business and everything else, but this is certainly way more than excessive. Now I have a question for our deputy town attorney. It was always my experience reading the code in the past, and best of my recollections, that there was a limit of 4 trailers allowed on any particular site. Was that amended, or am I mistaken, or do you know anything about that?
On that matter, I would defer to Jane or Cheryl. Off the top of my head, I don't know.
Do either of them have any idea on this? I believe it was 4. And, we've been working from that for some years. It seems to have sort of vanished. I'm trying to find out.
Well, I do know, Mr. Dell, that over by Verizon, there's like 30 trailers stored over there. So I really don't know, what that is.
Well, my feeling is maybe just something that's uniform that we're allowing now. I don't know. But
I don't know either.
Any clarification on that?
Mr. Dell, I don't have any clarification of that. I can look into it further. It may be something that the planning board had put as restrictions on previous site plan approvals that was not necessarily part of the actual zoning code, but I
believe it
really
was in
can't
the
answer that.
code, but that was some time ago. Maybe it's been eliminated. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
I don't
anyway,
recall seeing it in the code, but again, it could be a condition of the planning board. You guys, the planning board has the purview to make those type of conditions. So it may have been something that did happen in the past.
all right, well, we'll take a look at it if you could, because I believe I saw it in the code. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. The problem that we have is it's a classic of 5 pounds in a 3-pound bag. What the applicant really needs is a building that's substantially larger. And that would accommodate. Right now, it's so filled, they even have to put the excess off their own property. And I understand the desperation, et cetera, but I really don't know how this board can look at it with all of these things going on with any clarity. I mean, where do you begin? You can barely get a car through their parking lot, where all the major part of the storage is. It's also, in all fairness to the applicant, it's almost like a de facto campus type setting, and most of their neighbors are industrial properties. However, this is so excessive that I'm having trouble even looking at this and wanting even to know where I can begin because of all the issues that Ms. Slavin has stated and the comments from the other board members. I really don't know what to say. I understand Mr. Mandel's comments about the planters, but I think that's relatively de minimis compared to all the other problems that are on here. And I certainly would agree that we need to do something about the landscaping, but just look at the back of the building and it's like nothing I've seen in certainly in Orangetown in all my time here. And it's more like what you'd see at either a trucking terminal or something else. And I know it may be temporary, but I think we need assurances. We need more information before we can determine anything. Right now, I just see a whole series of violations, and I would like to see some resolution on them before we can do this, because I didn't know we could make a determination on a property that has violations on it. Are we able to do that, Mr. Picola?
I think what they're saying is that they have to go to EPA in order to satisfy some of the violations.
Now, I understand, Mr. Chairman, but I just wanted to get a legal opinion on this from Mr. Picola.
Yeah.
Are we able to look at something that has violations on it?
Well,
And
as
does
Mr. Emanuel and Jane had said, they're kind of interjoined, and it's anticipated by the court and I think the prosecutor that they do resolve things before the court matter is going to finalize. So yes, you're able
Are
to.
there filed violations? That's all I want to know.
My understanding is that there was, yes.
Okay, and they're not resolved.
No.
Okay, are we allowed to look at something that has unresolved violations on it? I thought we weren't, but you tell me.
In this matter, I would say yes. Perhaps in some matters, it would be wise not to, but in this matter, and I'm not saying it's ripe today to resolve, it perhaps is not from what I've heard. But yes, my understanding is that the Justice Court violations are not going to get resolved until the land use boards resolve things.
All right, so they're in a catch-22. Is that what you're implying?
Yes, or that the Justice Court is giving them time to resolve things with the land use boards.
Okay, I'm still a little confused, but I understand what you're saying. But in the past, we've had to stop hearing things if there was any violations in them. But you're saying in this particular case, we can hear.
I think you're maybe thinking in a different context. I mean, sometimes this board, an applicant needs to have clean hands. And if there's outstanding violations, sometimes the board will say, well, we're not going to grant you approval until you take care of all the stuff that's going on. I would say this is a slightly different matter, that the Justice Court and the prosecutor is is depending upon Mr. Emanuel and his client to clean things up with the boards. So I'm saying just because there are those outstanding violations, that's not a reason for this board not to hear the matter or not to make a final determination.
Okay, so even though their hands might not be clean, we still can look at it without getting into any problems legally. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, you're not going to get into any problems by moving forward on this. And again, what I'm saying is not that it's ready today to grant preliminary, but at some point you can prior to the Justice Court finalizing things.
Okay, that's all I want. Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry I cut you off. I just wanted to hear what he had to say. Please continue.
No problem. Okay, thank you. Mr. Andrews?
In lieu of the landscaping and the planter boxes, I don't know what the idea behind the planter boxes was, but this needs some severe landscaping and screening. The planter boxes look like they have weeds growing out of them, and they're not quite big enough to screen anything. So I would suggest when you come back with a landscape plan, you come back without using those planter boxes. It looks as though that they're able to be moved around to screen other items when certain things are already screened. So the planter boxes got to go, as far as I'm concerned. And I would suggest that you consider that in your landscape plan. And when you guys took over this building, I know COVID has a drastic change on it, but 3 years ago, when you took over the building, I believe you had the same problem with a lot of stuff screwed about the property, and you may have added that because of COVID, but like everybody said, it looks like you might need a bigger building. That's all I have to say right now.
Thank you very much. Mr. McCory?
Oh, thank you, Chairman. I'm not going to repeat what was said already. I agree with a lot of things that was said. You know, the location is concerning because you got one side you have the town park, the other side you have residential areas. So it's a property that we have to look at and scrutinize. You know, and it doesn't take long after reading Jane's letter and looking at the pictures. And I visited the site myself today, and you'll see that it's a mess, this site. And I know I don't feel comfortable moving this forward the way it is right now. So I'll just keep it short and sweet like that. And that's my only comment.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bond?
There's a lot of cleanup that they need to do on this site before it can move anywhere, you know, even to the ZBA. I mean, they need to rent another property and move some of this crap off of it, you know. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, this is one of the worst sites I've seen in Orangetown in all the years I've been doing this, you know. It ranks right up there with the worst. I mean, I can't believe how much stuff they have on it. So I don't know what we're gonna, what unless they agree to move some of the stuff off, I don't know what we're gonna solve with landscaping and screening and all that. The problems are much bigger than that, you know. It's almost like the use doesn't even belong there. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. I got to ask the town attorney. Right now, in my opinion, and I think a lot of the board's opinion, is that we really can't vote on the site plan, because if we do turn around and vote on the site plan and approve the site plan, then they go to ZBA, and the ZBA does not grant certain variances that they're required to. Then they got to come back again with a modified site plan. Is there any way where we can let them go to ZBA before we make any determination on the site plan, and then once the ZBA acts on whatever variances they have, come back to us a updated site plan to correspond with the ZBA's decisions? Is there any way of doing that? Because right now, I can't see this going anywhere because there's just too much.
Yeah, and with the comments, and I know Mr. Emanuel's experienced in this area, and he knows that he doesn't need a denial. He can go straight to the ZBA. Perhaps that may be what this case calls for. I just, with all the comments, Mr. Emmanuel, I don't know if you would agree, but it would seem like you could continue this and keep coming back, and I don't know that you're going to make much progress. Whereas if you go to ZBA and you get your approvals, you move some of the stuff off the property, then it seems to me you would make progress with the planning board. But Mr. Warren, I think that perhaps you hit the nail on the head, that perhaps this is one of those cases that it makes sense to proceed straight to ZBA before the planning board.
I agree with Mr. Piccolo. It's a bit of a chicken and egg situation that we have here. The one big issue that we have to deal with, and I'll talk with Mr. Piccolo offline about it, is how we deal with SECRA. This board declared itself to be lead agency and has in fact became lead agency under a coordinated review, which would generally mean that the ZBA could not make a decision until such time as this board issued a negative declaration. I can hear from what you're saying right now, you're in no position to make a determination like that at this time, and perhaps not anytime soon. So I'll want to have a conversation with Mr. Piccolo offline. We'll try to figure out how to deal with this. It may be that we have to rewind some of that and take another look at it. To that end, I think it would be helpful if the board continued this matter to a date certain, perhaps a month from now, so that we could come back and if there's action that needs to be taken along those lines, the board would be in a position at that point to take that action.
Okay, Mr. Manuel, you're asking for a continuation then?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm gonna, before we close this part, I want to ask, I kind of stepped in, I shouldn't have. We do that. Is there anybody from the public that wishes to make any comments on this? I don't think there were any, but I just have to open it up to the public. Again, I want to ask the public, does anybody have any comments on this project? Okay, hearing none, can I have a motion to close the public session?
I move to close the public session.
Mr. Andrews, do I have a second?
Second, Mr. Mandel.
Mr. Mandel seconds. All in favor? Aye. Is there opposition? No opposition, so the public is closed. So, Mr. Manuel, so you're asking for a continuation?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Okay, I don't know what the heck's gonna happen with it. I mean, there's just too much for us to really determine, because if you go to ZBA and they change things around, everything becomes a moot point.
Well, I understand that, and as I said just before, I want to sit down with Mr. Piccolo and let's figure out a procedure so that we could go to the ZBA and so that the ZBA can act.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, next item is PB 20-21, 116 Tweed Boulevard.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I apologize. Is there a date certain that we would be continued to?
No, you're gonna have to straighten that out with the building department with Cheryl, and I don't know what the schedule is. So she would, once you get everything done and get a hold of her, and she'll give you a schedule as to when, the next meeting is available that you can get on.
Well, will this require renotification?
But it also depends upon if you're going to the zoning board first, and then after the zoning board, then when you get back in front of the planning board, if that's what the plans are.
Oh, okay. Because I have a feeling that we're going to have to come, there'll be at least one intermediate step back to the planning board before we go to the ZBA, even if it's for a procedural matter.
Okay, so I'm collecting now for the December 9th meeting. So if that's the meeting, it would be December 9th.
It would be it should be a very short session with us, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, but again, just have to what the the planning board clerk has available.
Okay, that's,
Okay?
I don't mean to reinvent your procedures, Mr. Chairman. I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, no, I understand. So I just contact her and she'll give you the next, a time frame that you can get on.
There's also a November 9th, November 12th meeting, which is a Thursday evening. So we'll see where it falls.
One of the things to keep in mind, Mr. Manuel, is that obviously we were backed up for months, and with the past couple of months, it's actually, the applications have increased, which is always a good thing. So we also can only have so many things on an agenda. As you can see, we're already past 10 o'clock tonight. So that's why Chairman is saying, please work with Cheryl Cooper-Smith to work out the details of the next meeting.
Okay, that's fine. I will do that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, PV 20-21, 119 Tweed Boulevard site plan. Oh, John.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, we were last before the board back in the beginning of June with this project. Mr. Dean, the owner of the property, is on the meeting as well. We were told at that point, originally we had the gabion retaining wall going to the property line on the north side of the existing home, and we were discussed with the adjoining neighbor who had concerns and possibly work out something where they could come to an agreement for construction of the wall as we were showing it on the retaining wall. Mr. Dean had been in negotiations with Mrs. Chen, I believe, for a couple months, and they couldn't come to agreement. They were going back and forth. She was making requests, and so Mr. Dean told us to finally just to scale back the project. We pulled the retaining wall back off the property line. The proposed gabion retaining wall is 4 feet off the property line. Not be impacting her property at all. We will not have to cross over the property line to construct the wall. And we've scaled it back, like I said. We're back before this board, hopefully for approval tonight. We've gone through the comments. Cheryl was kind enough to send us the comments. We've gone through the comments. We have no issues with any of the comments from any of the consultants from the outside agencies.
Okay, thank you. Let me go through the comments. Jane Slavin, July 1. She has one comment. Jane Slavin, July 20th. Has 2 comments. Okay, Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, July 6th. They have 4 comments. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, September 8th. Has 3 comments. Who's making all that noise? Mr. Howard, could you shut your microphone off, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, October 14th. 3 comments. Department of Planning, Rockin County Department of Planning, August 17th. They have 4 comments.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to confirm that the town did refer this out to New York State DOT. Further comment number 1, we don't need a DOT permit because we're not accessing anything from Route 9W. I just want to confirm that it was sent to them.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, Rockin County Health, September 4th. They have 1 comment. And then Ansel, Nasser, and Ziegler has a September 22nd, a correspondence, which is 4 pages. This is from New York State DEC, which is a narrative from them. Okay, I have a letter dated October 14th from who, I'm sorry, please don't take offense by this, who Suk Chung, I think, I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrongly. He's the owner of 117 Tweed Boulevard. It's a 2-page letter. I have from Rockin County Department of Health. Their comments are attached. Rockin County, another, that's dated September 9th. It's redundant. Okay, I have another one from Rockin County Highway Department dated September 9th. No comments at this time. That's all. And I have another letter from Mr. Chung again, which was dated June 12th. The other letter, let me get the date on the first letter, which was October 14th. So the first letter of Mr. Chung is October 14th. His second letter is June 12th. I also have a report from Mantos Engineering, June 12th. 2 pages. No, 3 pages. And already read in. I think that's it, Cheryl. Is it?
There are some letters from Rockin County Planning, March 30th. Rockin County Sewer, April 6th.
Wait a minute. I have Rockin County Planning, August 17th. I have Rockland Health, September 4th. That's all I have. I don't have any others.
There's some older ones, but they're superseded by the ones that you have.
Could you do me a favor and read them in, please?
Rockin County Planning, March 30th. Rockin County Sewer, April 6th. And the EAF.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Young.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was at the site today, and from what I could surmise, Mr. Atzel's correct. I saw a scaled down version of what the original project was going to be. In light of the letter from the owner next door, I'd like to hear what the public's going to have to say as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Mandel.
No, Mr. Chairman, I'll wait till I hear what the public has to say before I ask any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sweeney.
Yeah, similar. The letter came, later this evening, so I read it before the meeting, but I see that Mrs. Chun is on the line, so I'll wait to hear what they have to say before I make any comments.
Thank you very much. Mr. Dell.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Most of my major concerns, I think, are solved. Just as a structural question, you might want to tie the 2 walls together a little better than what's shown here. I assume you would do something along that line. Other than that, I think it's an improvement, and I have no problems with this part of it. But again, like the others, I want to hear what the contiguous property to the north has to say. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Andrews.
Let me just I'm looking at the plan here, and it looks as though you move the new wall back, and then the old wall is going to remain, but you're going to tie it in with a railroad tie wall. off of the property line. Is that correct?
Yes, we have to do something with the existing wall, so we've actually put that one section in to bring it back in, and it's gonna abut the new gabion retaining wall, but it will be at least 3 to 4 feet off the property line, south of the property line.
So that should shore up the older wall that remains.
Yes, that will shore up the existing wall that will remain, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. I'll wait until I hear from the public also. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. McCrory.
Thank you, Chairman. I know we've been dealing with this project for a while now. We've seen a lot of big projects come before us. I just can't believe this hasn't been resolved yet. I'd love to know what the outstanding issue is with this. No, that's all I gotta say. I just can't believe this isn't done yet. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bond. Mr. Bond, you there? No, I guess not. Okay, I'm going to open it up to the public. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this?
Okay, hi, how are you? My name is Hasuk Chan, the 117 tweet owner. As you know, this project began from several months ago, and right now the John Achel said because of my demanding is not resolved, that is not, my point of view is not true, because my engineer have find the problem, as you know. So we requested several revisions, and the revision is same. The first letter you received June 12 something. That's one letter my engineer told this issue, maybe 4 or 3 issues, but the resolving that problem taking almost 3 months. You know, they revised again and again and again, and then from August, I really try to help, cooperate them, and I try to discuss with him like a licensing agreement. But unfortunately, the licensing agreement drafted by my engineer, I don't know about all the the issues, but my engineer told me this issue should be addressed, and the licensing agreement, we should have an agreement to address my property safety and my tenant liability. But I tried to send the draft, and I tried to talk with Mr. Howard, but he did not respond at all. And he said finally, the September 2nd, I started from the middle of August, and September 1st and the 2nd, he texted me or sent email. He will not, build this wall, and this project is dead. After that, I tried to 1 or 2 times, but I did not any response at all. At that time, my thought is, Mr. Dean has no interest at all to, discuss or something. The licensing agreement is very obvious, very simple, based on the engineer firm he draft. But okay, it's okay. So I thought he canceled his, the plan, and I cannot do anything. So but surprisingly, today it was a very surprise day for me, because by accident, I just found this agenda on today's meeting. I found 3:35 p.m. I have no idea at all what kinds of plan he submitted, what, as you know, I have no chance to see any plan of his today's agenda. I have no idea at all. So if he presents new plan, I should see. He said, John Achel said there is no impact on my property, but I don't know at all. I even see his plan. I have no, he has, the submit plan at all. Even, so I asked the Mrs. Cooper Smith, why you did not notify me? She said she put, the town put the post from October 6th on the property. But my tenant told me she never saw the, the sign up to today. There's no sign at all. How can I know? I have no idea what kinds of plan he submitted, what is the drawing is, how impact on my property. I have no idea. So I clearly object today, okay? And I'm very curious if he said the kinds of wall, he said 3 feet, 4 feet away from the property line. How is the existing wall? And I have the retaining wall cross the 90 degree with that existing wall. How is my wall can be? I cannot imagine at all how it's looking or how it's working. So this plan should be reviewed my engineer also. I don't know, I have no capability to see or to review anything. So today I have no idea at all what kinds of plan he submitted, how it looks like, how it's working, how kinds of adversely impact on my property. I have no idea at all. So I clearly object this one. I need to review this one because, as you know, this is my property and this is very important, the wall, and also because of this wall they demolition this wall or rebuilt or whatever, this impact on my property a lot, and as well as my tenants, I have liability to my tenant also. My tenant, I need to ensure my tenant safety also, everything, So if he submit totally different one today, I need to review it. I need to see it. I need to understand what kinds of plan he submitted. That is my position.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Does anybody else wish to speak on this project? Okay, hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to close the public session.
Motion to close.
Mr. Mandel, do I have a second?
Second, McCrory.
Mr. McCory makes a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? No opposition. Okay, public session is closed. John, in respect to this lady next door, she says she hasn't seen the plans or hasn't been contacted. What's the story with that?
Mr. Chairman, we gave Cheryl the envelopes, and I'm sure she mailed them out, the stamped envelopes, and we did post the property last week as required by the town. We posted it on both Swede Boulevard and Route 9W. And just as a follow-up, we went back and forth with her engineer while we were trying to keep the retaining wall along the property line. We went back and forth with him probably for about 2 months. Finally, he agreed. He signed off on the old wall that was going to be built along the property line. And Mr. Dean, the owner of the property, was still in negotiations with her about getting a license agreement. And that's when they came to an impasse. And that's when Mr. Dean decided to abandon the wall on the property line. We pulled it back completely on Mr. Dean's property. It will not impact her wall at all. It won't impact her property at all.
Okay, now when you start your new wall, because you're gonna have to take down the old part of the old wall that's on your property, right? You're replacing it. Is their wall, you're gonna be able to stabilize their wall so that their wall will stay structural sound?
It will be stabilized, and most likely, I believe the tieback for that short section of railroad tie, that will be constructed first. And then they will bring in the gabions and the material for the gabion wall and, remove the old wall, then start bringing in the material for the new wall.
Okay, because that's been my concern from day one, is respect to their wall, supporting that to make sure that wall stayed safe. That was my concern.
Right, and pulling it back from the property line allows us to do that without having to go onto her property. and it will be stabilized prior to construction of any portions of the new wall.
Okay. Now, I got to say this, Mr. Dell, you're listening. We should have, from day one, listened to Mr. Dell, because Mr. Dell says, pull that wall back. He said 5 foot at the time, I think. So, and put it on your property 5 foot back. And I says, you don't want to lose that. So, Mr. Dell, we should have listened to you, but we didn't, as usual. So anyway, okay.
We tried to work it out, but it just didn't work out.
Yes,
Mr.
I
Chairman?
understand. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, just on a separate note, I did speak to Cheryl today and about the situation of the notification. And this obviously is my recollection of what she said to me. Apparently, the owner's address on the property is listed to some corporation, I believe in Oregon, and that's the only place she can send things to. So I think she mailed it out on time, but it may have been a problem going back and forth. And she had no other recourse but to follow the law. I don't know if Rick knows anything about this, but I just remember I was talking to her about this today. So that's my recollection of it. And thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Regarding, can I say, regarding the address, I already changed the address, and I sent to Shirley please send my Washington address. I requested several times. I don't know why she sent to Oregon. I cannot understand. So I clearly told her send Washington DC. I'm in Washington DC, and everybody knows my email, my address, my phone number, and even you should post on the property. My tenant said she never see it. I don't know what happened. The owner removed it, or you did not post on. Yes.
Okay, Ms. Chun, I'm sorry to say the public session is closed, so I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay. So I'm sorry for that, but okay. I don't know. What are we going to do with this? You guys ready? I think they've done a nice job. I hate to say that they had to lose that 3 feet, that they couldn't work a deal out, but what do you want to do? It's in for final. So should we move on it? I'm going to ask for a motion for lead agent. Anybody for lead agent? Mr. Dell, lead agent. Okay, do I have a second? Mr. McCory, second on lead agent. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Mr. Andrews, you opposed to it?
No,
Okay.
for it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so make motion for neg deck. Anybody mind? Motion. Mr. Dell makes a motion for neg deck. Okay, do I have a second?
Mr. Andrews seconds.
Mr. Andrews, second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. No opposition. Okay. Do I have a motion for final with conditions?
Move for final with conditions, Mr. Andrews.
Mr. Andrews makes a final with condition, and the conditions are Jane Slavin, July 1, has 1 item. Office of Building, Zoning and Planning, Jane Slavin, July 20th, has 2 items. Environmental Management, July 6th, has 4. Environmental Management and Engineering, September 8th, has 3. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, October 14th, has 3. Rockin County Department of Planning, August 17th, has 4. Rockin County Health, September 4th, has 1. And Carol, you have those other letters from County Planning and Health that I didn't.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so they're
I'll
also,
take care of it.
Okay, thank you. That are all parts of the conditions. Okay, do I have a second? Mr. Mandel goes for a second. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Nobody is opposed to it. Okay, very good. John, you got your final. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. Okay, last item is Mr. Brenner wants, where is it?
Okay, I'm here. Can I give some background?
Yeah, you're here. Please, go ahead.
Pardon me?
Go ahead.
All right. The Asuma Funeral Home, formerly known as the Shanky Funeral Home, has been in the town of Orangetown way past my time, I think. I traced it back even before 1955. It's been an existing use, a pre-existing use in a non-conforming area. It's been there for many, many years, as you can see, over 50, 60 years. It had some strange problems based on the fact that it was pre-existing, non-conforming. It required many, many variances. It actually required a approval from the highway department because there was a very wide right-of-way in the area. And finally, Mr. Dean had no problem with the canvas, which stretched from the entrance back to the street. We went through all the things. The zoning board granted all the variances. We're now down to the end run. And by the way, this originally came to the board in August of 2019. You're now asking him to go to the Architectural Review Board. We're talking about boxing out an area of 255 square feet. I can't get on the Architectural Review Board agenda. I'm trying to get the building built. I'm pleading with the board, will you please waive the Architectural Review Board requirement? We've gotten all the zoning requirements. We've gotten everything done. The gentleman wants to round out his funeral area. It's really been really a serious, not the cause of the town, but it's been a serious delays because of the zoning, because of the situation, because of the pandemic. And we're asking your permission to waive Akabor so he can build this little extension of 240 square feet. That's really what I'm here for.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Young, comments?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I lost my internet connection. I had no problem with the plans as they were. I just wanted to hear what happened with this discrepancy between the neighbors. I apologize. No need to catch up with me.
Okay, where do we lose you at?
When Miss Chung was speaking.
Okay, we continue with that and we gave them final. Now we're at, Mr. Brenner is asking for a waiver for Akabor for the Shaky Funeral Home in Pearl River.
I have no problem with that.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Mandel.
I have no problem with that either.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sweeney.
I just have one quick question. You said, Mr. Brenner, you can't get on the Akabor's schedule. What's happening there?
It's like a 2-month delay. I can't get on it. The calendar is so far back.
Okay.
I'm
What were you going to say?
I'm going to miss the season. You know, winter's going to come. We're going to have a problem.
Okay, that was my only question. I have nothing else.
Okay, are you okay with it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Dell.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. It's a very small area. It would have been nice if we had a photograph or something to go from on this, but I don't see that. But 200 square feet, I don't see it as a problem.
Okay, Thank you very much. Mr. Andrews.
It's just a question, Mr. Brennan. What exactly what are you going to put into this area, this landscape area?
He's going to round out the room and extend it where the people come into place and see the coffin. He's going to round it out so they'll be able to move within the area much better. Like zigzags, and if you've ever been to the funeral home, you see it's a problem.
So what was the landscaping? Or
It's on a solid piece of property. It's in other words, it was a concrete based. There was no drainage problem. There was nothing. We didn't need drainage requirements. We didn't do anything. In fact, the board gave us final approval.
all right, that's all right. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. McCory.
Thank you, Chairman. Just as a refresher, it's a small area off the back of the building. I don't have the plans.
It's on the side. It's on the south side. It's got that little niche in where it comes in the building, and he's just going to round it out. He's going to use the same material. Yeah.
Yeah, so I got no problem with that.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Bond.
If I were voting, I would have no problem with it.
Okay, thank you very much. And you're not voting, by the way. Okay, so do I have a motion to waiver Source Assuming Shaky Funeral Home from going to Ackleboard? Do I have that motion?
Young makes the motion.
Okay, motion, and Mr. Mandel seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? No opposition. Okay, Mr. Brenner, you have it. Thank you. All right. Do we have anything else? Okay, Jane, can you make sure that only board members are on? Can you make sure everybody else is off? Because I see some other people's names up.
I don't know that it's a public meeting. I don't know that I can do that.
It's a public
Okay,
meeting.
we're going to close the meeting then. Okay, I have a motion that we, well, actually, this is for this is part of public information, I guess. I had asked in respect to 125 and 155 Greenbush Road, I had asked the Traffic Advisory Board to give us some input in respect to what the town is trying to do with respect to commercial traffic throughout the town, because it is a problem. I talked to the chairman there, and he says it's a problem. He says the trucks are coming over the mountain because the GPS is sending them that way. The town is having a rough time doing it. Part of the problem is that the roadway in front of this project is county, and from there it goes into the state. So I said, is the traffic advisory, are they doing anything at all to try to alleviate the property? He says, we're trying to set up a meeting with the state. He says, I had one meeting set up and the state canceled it. I'm trying to set up another meeting with the state and the county and see if we can work something else. He said, I will, I said, okay, could you do me a favor at your next meeting, discuss it, and then just send our board a letter stating that the Traffic Advisory Committee is aware of the situation of the commercial traffic in the town. We are trying to set up a meeting with the state and the county. Basically, that's all I was asking for. So I heard back from, because my wife is on the board, she says that the attorney, Denise, had advised them not to make any comment until we have finally given final to this application. Now, I mean, the board is looking for information. The traffic advisory was not going around and determining we're going to put a stop sign here, we're going to put this there, all that they were doing is that they were looking for information. And I wanted to relay this to the neighbors of this project to let them know that the town is in fact concerned with it and we're trying to do something with it. But I don't understand why the deputy town attorney for them, the traffic advisory board, told them not to get involved with it. That kind of bothers me. Rick, can you kind of look into it and find out why?
I will ask. You said Denise, was it Denise Sullivan? I didn't
I
know this.
believe. Whomever the attorney is for the Traffic Advisory Committee. I think it was her. I'm not sure. I was told her name. It may not have been, I don't know.
Okay, I will ask. But your question specifically is why they're not coordinating with you or not giving you any information?
Yeah, all they got to do, I wanted a letter from them stating that we're trying to get a meeting with the state and with the county to try to find out, because they're having problems throughout the whole town. And that they're trying to set up a meeting to get something resolved. That's all I was looking for. I mean, they're not committing themselves to anything other than trying to get a meeting set up. And the attorney says that for the board not to get involved. And I really, that kind of upset me, because I feel that the town should work together to get things resolved. And our board, I think, is looking for information.
Right.
So I don't know, Mr. Dell.
Yes, thank you, sir. I believe in this case, it might behoove us to ask the town board for their assistance, let them have the meeting, let them do it, and then we react to that. I think that might be a lot better, because they're equipped legally to do that. And we could have them come in and talk to us, but that would be informal. If they go to the town, then we might indeed get some resolution.
Well, I was thinking of that, but I felt that being the Traffic Advisory Committee is looking at the traffic throughout the town, that they could give us some input. I just wanted, some more information for us to digest, to find out what the hell we do and can't do. So if you could ask her why, and that's all I have to say.
I think one thing I can do is ask for the minutes of the meetings where this issue was dealt with. That should be in the minutes.
Okay,
So,
would you do that then? And then kind of find out, maybe I'm giving the wrong information, but that's what I was told. That they were told not to get involved. So, all right. If nothing else, so I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mandel, Mr. Dell seconds. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Bye, y'all. See you in